30th June 2023, and the certificates there in respect of 1. Rivertex East Africa Limited, 2. Karugu Agricultural Training Center, 3. Mount Elgon Lodge Limited, 4. Cooperative Societies in Liquidation Account, 5. Numerical Machining Complex Limited, 6. Kenya Development Corporation, 7. Youth Enterprise Development Fund, 8. Tana Water Works Development Agency, 9. Kenya Maritime Authority Staff Mortgage and Car Loan Scheme, 10. East Africa Trade and Transport Facilitation Project IDA credit number 4148KE, 11. Northern Corridor Transport Improvement Project IDA credit number 3930KE and 4571KE. 12. Mombasa Nairobi Addis Ababa Road Corridor Project Phase 3, Turbi Moyale number PZ1 DBO 095, land number 21001500255546. 13. Kenol Sagana Marua Highway Improvement Project PKE DBO-03737, credit number 5050-2000-00901 and 2000-20,04504. 14. Kenya Institutional Strengthening Project Phase 3, project number KNE CEV/86/INS/64, and 15. Twake Multipurpose Development Program Phase 1, AFDB loan number 2100150020002000003351 AGTF number 5050-2000005001 and AFDB grant number 2100155025-973. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay. Thank you.
Okay, next, the chairperson of the Committee on Regional Integration.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, 12 March 2024. The report of the Committee on Regional Integration on its participation in the 10th African Grain Trade Summit held in Uganda from 5th to 7th October 2023. I beg to lay.
Thank you. The Honorable Chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Tuesday, 12th March 2024. Firstly, addendum to the report of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs on its consideration of the National Government Administration Laws Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 73 of 2023, tabled on 21st February 2024. Secondly, report of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs on its consideration of the Houses of Parliament Bicameral Relations Bill, National Assembly Bill number 44 of 2023. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Next is the Honorable nominated member, Honorable Irene Mayaka. Sorry, I don't think that's... Yes, I'm correct, yes. The Honorable Irene Mayaka. Sorry, Honorable Mayaka, it's actually before you is the Vice Chairperson of the Public Petitions Committee. You're under Order 7. So you may proceed. Chairperson of the Public Petitions Committee. I think it's being delivered by the Vice Chairperson, Honorable Janet Sitione. It's okay. I think we can move to the next order, then we'll come back to her when she arrives. So we can move to order number 7.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Next order.
Order number 7, questions and statements.
It's okay, we'll give her a chance to settle down, so we can just go to order number 7. Do you want us to finish with the order number 7 first? Then I'll come to you. Thank you. Yes, I know. Honorable Stenia has joined us, but let's give her a minute to settle down. So let's proceed to the next order first. We'll come back to her. Okay, the Honorable David Kiplagat.
Okay, thank you, Madam Speaker. I was worried that I had been forgotten. Thank you very much, because the matter I'm raising is of national importance, especially to our farmers in North Rift. Request for a statement regarding distribution of subsidized fertilizers to farmers. Honorable Madam Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 44-2C, I rise to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee of Agriculture and Livestock regarding distribution of subsidized fertilizers to farmers in the North Rift region. Madam Speaker, the government initiated the subsidy program with the intention of bolstering Kenya's agricultural sector productivity in order to stabilize food prices. Consequently, the government undertook a nationwide registration of farmers for purposes of delivering subsidized fertilizer by use of e-voucher system for traceability and full accountability of the subsidized fertilizer. However, the program is facing several challenges, among them being lag between the date of receipt of the notification and the redemption of the fertilizers. As a result, farmers have unsuccessfully been queuing for several hours at the National Cereals and Produce Board, NCBB, depots to collect the subsidized fertilizer. Additionally, farmers in the region have lamented about lack of finances to redeem the vouchers, long queues, and allegation of corruption in the fertilizer subsidy program. Madam Speaker, since the planting season has already commenced, particularly in the North Rift, it is imperative that the government speedily streamlines distribution of subsidized fertilizers to farmers to forestall crop failure resulting from late planting. It is against this background that I request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee of Agriculture and Livestock on the following. 1. Speaker, you protect me. I need to be heard in silence. Okay.
Proceed. We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay.
Despite the murmurings.
1. What is the quantity of subsidized fertilizer stocked in National Cereals and Produce Board depots across the country vis-a-vis the targeted number of farmers and the acreage of land? 2. Could the ministry consider giving farmers in the North Rift vouchers to purchase fertilizers from retailers at subsidized price of 2,500 per bag in the event of shortage of the subsidized fertilizer at NCBB depots? 3. What mechanism has the ministry put in place to ensure that farmers in the North Rift receive subsidized fertilizer in the next 1 week before the planting season begins. Lastly, what modalities has the ministry put in place to enhance effectiveness of the e-forger system in order to minimize the long queues at the depots? I thank you, Honorable Speaker. I also request that since it's a matter that is concerning a lot of farmers in the North Rift, I request that Honorable Kipsanai and also Honorable Kip.
He's decided to take up the Speaker's seat. Before we proceed, honorable members, allow me to recognize students seated in the public gallery. There's one school from Kirobon Girls High School, from Rongai constituency, Nakuru County. Second, we have Wanyenzie Secondary School from Mwingwi West constituency, Kitui County. 3 Rarakwa girls from Kigumo constituency, Muranga County. And also Gitwe Secondary School from Githunguri constituency, Kiambu County. The 5th school is Londiani Township Secondary School from Kipkelion East constituency. And I'll give an opportunity to Honorable Joseph Cherorot, to member for Kipkelion, to welcome the students, school students on our behalf.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to welcome all the students who are with us today in the plenary. This is an opportunity for these students, Madam Speaker, to learn, and I want to say that this house is a role model to the students, Madam Speaker. Unlike during our days, when you used to just read it in the books, but they have an opportunity to come and even see practically and be able to listen to what we are actually discussing and moving in this house, Madam Speaker. Therefore, I want to welcome all of them, and I want to encourage all the students who are with us this afternoon that cheer up and make sure that you perform in your schools. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Okay. Honorable nominated member, Honorable Irene Mayaka, you can now make your statement.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I hereby request for a statement on the status report of the campaign to end female genital mutilation by 2022. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order number 44, subsection 2, part C, I wish to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Social Protection on the status of the campaign to end female genital mutilation by 2022. Honorable Speaker, in November 2019, the Minister of Public Service, Gender and Affirmative Action launched a national policy on abandonment of female genital mutilation following a firm commitment from the then President on the 4th of June 2019 to put an end to female genital mutilation, also known as FGM, by 2022. The policy was aligned with the impetus to accelerate eradication of FGM in the country. Honorable Speaker, while the strides taken by the Minister of Public Service, Gender and Affirmative Action in the eradication of FGM cannot be gainsaid, certain areas in the country still practice FGM. There is therefore need for extension of the campaign to end female genital mutilation to ensure total prohibition and eradication of all forms of FGM in the country. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I seek a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Social Protection on the following. Number 1, could the Minister provide a status report on the achievements that resulted from the campaign towards ending FGM by 2022? Number 2, what initiative did the Ministry put in place to sustain the gains made through the campaign beyond 2022? Number 3, what programs has the Ministry initiated towards sensitizing communities susceptible on the negative effects of FGM and the amount of resources allocated to achieve accelerated eradication of the fires? And finally, could the minister consider another phase of the campaign to end FGM in targeted areas of the country for a term of 3 years? I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Tharaka, Honorable George Burugara.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this is a request for a statement regarding the mysterious death of Ms. Peris Karimi Mugera of Tharaka Nithi County. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 44.2c, I rise to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Security regarding the disappearance and mysterious death of one Ms. Peris Karimi Mugera of ID number 30960640 from Ndiruni village in Tharaka Nithi County. Honorable Speaker, Ms. Peris Karimi Mugera, a renowned political blogger and business lady in Chuka town, was reported missing on the 29th of February 2024 under unclear circumstances. The frantic search for the deceased by her family and the police officers from Chuka Police Station met a tragic end on 8th March 2024 when the deceased family positively identified a body at the Kirogoya mortuary in Kirinyaga County. It is reported that a lifeless body had been found dumped along the Mwea Sagana Road in Kirinyaga County on the 1st of March 2024. To date, the family is yet to know the circumstances for her disappearance and subsequent murder in cold blood. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I seek a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Security on the following matters. Number one, what is the status of investigations into the disappearance and mysterious death of Ms. Peris Karimi Mugera, including the identity of the killers and their motive? Number two, what steps has the government taken to ensure that all the perpetrators of the disappearance and death of the said person are brought to book for prosecution? Number three, what actions has the government taken to ensure that Ms. Peris Karimi Mugera's family is protected from threats by persons likely to be associated with her death? And finally, number four, what measures has the government put in place to ensure that the safety and the right of expression of all Kenyan political bloggers are protected? I thank you, Honorable Speaker, and do request for an answer to this as a matter of urgency.
Okay, my assumption is that the relevant chairpersons of those committees can't answer now, but you can answer at a later date. Is that okay? Because the first statement by the member for Soy, Honorable David Kiplagat, I think will be marked to the Committee on Agriculture. The statement by the member for Tharaka, Honorable George Burugara, will be marked to the Committee on Administration. And the one by the nominated member, Honorable Irene Mayaka, will be marked to social protection. I think that was your request. So we can schedule that they are able to respond next, before we go for recess, which means next week. This time next week. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What is your point of order, Honorable DK?
Madam Speaker, as you know very well, you and I come from the North Rift, and farmers are now planting, and they are now queuing without the subsidized fertilizer. Can you order that the chair, this is something that should be sorted within 3 days, because we cannot wait for 1 week. Thank you.
The chair, is 3 days acceptable? Chairperson, Honorable Mutunga.
Honorable Speaker, I listened to the Honorable Member when he was requesting for the statement very carefully, and he is talking of in the course of this week. And Honorable Speaker, we have an engagement with the ministries. I cannot give my answers. It will take the ministry to do the investigation that he needs and also to do the scheduling that he has requested. It cannot take less than a week because we have to give them a notice of a week. Honorable Speaker, I think it's out of order.
I think that sounds reasonable. What's your point of order, Honorable Sunkuli?
Madam Speaker, I was of the feeling that you are going to give us an opportunity to comment on this statement. But now that I see that that's not the way you are doing it, I would request that when the answer to that statement is given, it should not be limited to the North Rift. Because, Madam Speaker, we have the problem in Kilgoris, which is in the South Rift. Fertilizer is being given in small quantities. It expires very quickly. Some people are being given more than they deserve, and they are selling it to the neighboring places in Kisii. And in fact, yesterday, the cereals board was flooded by people from other places other than Kilgoris. We need that statement to cover the whole of it. And I just want to request my honorable friend from Soy to always think broader. There's nothing called the North Rift. We are all members of the Rift Valley.
What's your point of order, Honorable Kipsanai? I'll come to you, Honorable Milema. Yeah, and I'll come to you. Yes. We can only take one point of order at a time. So I'm going in order.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. First, I want to thank Honorable DK for raising this important statement. Madam Speaker, as you are aware, farmers in North Rift are preparing to plant. And now the rains are approaching. Farmers are in anguish. We are receiving fertilizers like medicine, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it's important for the chairperson to take the statement from the member seriously because we want it to be expedited. Because farmers can no longer wait, rains are approaching, people have plowed their farms, and it's important, Chair, that you direct so that we can get the fertilizer on time. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Remember the Honorable Omboko Milema, then I'll come to you. I'm just going in order. Proceed. And keep it brief because it's a point of order.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The Chair Agriculture has to rise to the occasion. The matter raised by the member is so serious. You know, the magic happening in the country currently is because we got some fertilizer during the second planting and the first planting. And that's why the price of Gorogoro is now oscillating where it is. This is very serious, Chair, Agriculture. And you should be able to reply to this because I was in the constituency and in our place, Honorable Speaker, there's no fertilizer. People are queuing, both in Honorable Maungu's constituency and my constituency. So we need the fertilizer so that we keep the Gorogoro down.
You've made your point. If it's a point of order, it should be brief, Honorable Owen Bayer. Then I'll come to you, Honorable Kosin.
Honorable Speaker, you know, while the matters being raised here are very important matters, and they are serious issues of the nation, but you see, this is Parliament, and Parliament has procedure, and we must speak to the fact that DK used a route that does not accord him what he wants. He requested for a statement. And my understanding, and having been in this Parliament, when a statement is requested, we don't debate. We don't start issuing points of orders in the guise of debating the matter. He should have come to this Parliament on an adjournment motion so that he can get what he wants. But to use request for a statement, Honorable Speaker, for us to debate a matter is completely out of order in this Parliament. He should use the correct path. The chairman has stated, give me 1 week, and the matter rests. The matter rests. But for us to use a back door this is Parliament, it's a house of procedure. It must be followed, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Owen Bayer.
Yes.
Honorable Owen Bayer, actually, you're more out of order than everybody else. Because if you are on a point of order, you keep it brief. You simply say your point. And that's what the challenge is happening now. Everybody is making a speech, when, I mean, calling it a point of order, but you're also even doing the same thing yourself. Honorable members, I think the point has been made. No matter how much we debate, none of the chairperson will not be able to speak. Let us proceed. Let us proceed, honorable members. Honorable Kosini, you're out of order. We've closed that chapter. So let's go back. If you remember, honorable members, I had reordered the order paper and gone to number 7 and actually skipped one item on order paper number, order number 5. So I'll call upon the vice chairperson of the Public Petitions Committee, Honorable Janet Sitiene.
Public petitions. Honorable Speaker, I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Tuesday, 12th March 2024. Report of the Public Petitions Committee on its consideration of public petition number 3 of 2022 by Honorable Said Buya Hiribae regarding the gazettement of Hola Irrigation Scheme land to allow for the expansion of the county headquarters of Tana River. I submit, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Tuesday, 12th March 2024, on the report of the Public Petitions Committee on its consideration of public petition number 4 of 2022 by Mr. Stephen Mutoro regarding funds spent by the national government contrary to the provisions of Article 223 of the Constitution. I submit, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, do I go ahead and give notice of the motion? Okay.
Honorable Member, did you have a notice or you just simply had the paper to lay?
Sorry. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice of motion on the same report. Chairperson of Public Petition Committee, consideration of public petition number 4 of 2022 regarding funds spent by the national government contrary to the provisions of Article 223 of the Constitution. Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion: that this House adopts the report of the Public Petitions Committee on its consideration of public petition number 4 of 2022 regarding funds spent by the national government contrary to the provisions of Article 223 of the Constitution, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 12th March 2024. Honorable Speaker, I submit.
Thank you. And now, honorable members, we can now go back to order number 8. You can announce the order. Oh, yes, okay. Let me give Leader of Minority, let me give you an opportunity. You had a point of order earlier.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I'll be rising on a point of order number 47.3. Point of order number 47.3. Honorable Speaker, but before I go there, and this is basically, let me just read it, if you allow me. A standing order number 47.3 is all about the Speaker determining the constitutionality of a motion or a bill before it is processed by the House. So I will not read it, it's clear. But Mr. Speaker, let me say this, that Speaker J.B. Muturi, a legal mind of no mean repute, on several occasions, and indeed his predecessors, but I'll just for the moment talk about the rulings by Speaker J.B. Muturi, both in the 11th and 12th parliaments, which I was privileged to serve in. If I pick a specific ruling he made on the 21st of December, 2021, it was a Speaker's ruling on the constitutionality of the Proceeds of Crime and Anti-Money Laundering Amendment Bill. It was Tuesday afternoon. At page 298 of that ruling, the Speaker J.B. Muturi had this to say, just paraphrasing him, that before I guide the House on the pertinent questions for determination, it is worth noting that Articles 3 and 10 of the Constitution oblige the Chair to respect, uphold, and defend the Constitution. As you are aware, all business that comes before the House is approved by the Speaker, and among other considerations, the Speaker applies his mind as to the constitutionality or otherwise of such business, as contemplated under Standing Order 47.3. Let me also hasten to add
Honorable
that
Wandai, just so that everyone can follow you, you're rising on Standing Order 47.3. 47.3.
Yes.
If the Speaker is of the opinion that any proposed motion is one which infringes, or the debate which is likely to infringe on any of the standing orders.
Yeah.
And the one is contrary to the Constitution. Okay, so which one are you referring to?
47.3.
No, I'm asking what particular part of the order paper are you referring to?
I am referring to, Honorable Speaker, I'm referring...
I just want to be able to follow you.
Yes. And I wish the House would be attentive, because I can't actually communicate.
Honorable members, I think let us consult in low tones. Order, honorable members.
Honorable Speaker, I am referring to the Statute Law Miscellaneous Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 68 of 2023, which has since gone through the second reading and is destined for the Committee of the Whole. And that's why I am paraphrasing J.B. Muturi's ruling on this particular day, the 21st of December that year. I was just concluding it. Let me also hasten to add, that is J.B. Muturi speaking. Let me also hasten to add that notwithstanding the approval of any business by the Chair under the standing orders, it has now become an established parliamentary practice of this House that a question of the constitutionality or otherwise of any matter under consideration by the House may be raised at any stage of its consideration. Indeed, my predecessors and I have been invited on several occasions to guide the House on issues of constitutionality of various matters before the House. That's the point.
Okay, you've made your point. You've explained the standing order correctly, but that particular statute amendment bill that you're referring to is not on the order paper today, is it?
The Honorable Speaker, I wish you just listen to me first, then you can guide me. I just conclude, what I'm saying here.
Yes.
The Honorable Speaker, I am well aware, that the particular business is not on today's order paper. But I have mentioned that that particular business has been duly approved by the Speaker, and indeed, it has gone through the second reading stage. That is therefore within the remit of 47.3, and especially the ruling I have just referred to by Speaker J.B. Muturi. Honorable Speaker, I'll be very brief. Article 3, of course, has been elaborated by J.B. Muturi in his ruling. Article 10, I'm on a point of order, Honorable Speaker, and protect me, please, Honorable Speaker. I am on a point of order. You just
Honorable
take the time
Chepkonga,
and respond.
just let him finish.
Yes.
He's about to finish.
What is the...
Then you can...
What is the jittery about? I am on a point of order.
Honorable Chepkonga, you're out of order. Allow me to listen to him, then rule on it. You can't
The
rule from your
Honorable
seat.
Speaker, thank you very much. Honorable Speaker, I'm particularly referring to the Value Added Tax Act of 2013 that this amendment bill is proposing to amend. Honorable Speaker, the first question is the VAT Act 2013 a money bill or not? The answer is it is indeed a money bill. And the proposer of the bill is suggesting to delete section 268(2)(a). Honorable Speaker, money bills are provided for under Article 114 of the Constitution. Honorable Speaker, Article 114 of the Constitution, and I will take you to Article 114, subarticle 2 of the Constitution. Honorable Speaker, Article 114, subarticle 2.
Honorable Wandai, because, like I've just asked you, that particular statute amendment bill is not presently before the House. It will be before the House in the coming days. Then you can be able to submit as you're submitting today, because now you're doing it in a vacuum.
Honorable
So even if I were to give a ruling, it's impossible to give a ruling as it is not before the House.
The Honorable Speaker, I'm just concluding. My point is this. Article 114 or subarticle 2 of the Constitution requires that if in the opinion of the Speaker of the National Assembly, a motion makes a provision for a matter mentioned in the definition of a money bill, the Assembly may proceed only in accordance with the recommendations of the relevant committee of the Assembly, after taking into account the views of the Cabinet Secretary responsible for finance. That is the point. The point here is, has this proposed amendment to the VAT Act 2013 been taken through the relevant committee? Is there a report from the relevant committee? Has it acquired, has it received the concurrence or opinion of the CS Treasury? That is the point. The answer to this question, Honorable Speaker, is that it has not.
Okay.
And therefore, the business is before the House. Even if it is not on the order paper today, it is before the House. The business is before the House and procedurally. And is ultra.
Okay. Honorable Wandai, that particular statute amendment bill will be coming to the House at some point in time. Right now, you're speculating and anticipating debate. Let us wait until the matter is properly before the House, when all the other members are able to access the documentation from the table office, so that they can also be able to give a counter argument to your argument. But now you're debating yourself. Yes, so let us, you've made your point and you've put it well, so let us proceed. Yes, and raise it.
To proceed on the day the matter will be on the order paper. That doesn't negate the issues I have raised. Very weighty constitutional issues, Honorable Speaker. And whoever is responsible for this bill must take note. Honorable Speaker, thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Wandai. I think they have received the message. So let us wait until the matter is before the House, and there is no point to debate on it, because it's not even before the House. Honorable Lowen Bayer, I hope we're not talking about this matter, because it's not even before the House. We're just speculating and anticipating debate, and no one else in the room, probably save for the two of you, know about it. So let us wait until it's properly before the House.
Just to be on record, the Honorable Speaker, it is proper that we comment on this matter. The Honorable Wandai brought this matter properly before the House, and I want to commend him on one thing, that no one in this Parliament is interested in passing a law that is unconstitutional. It will be foolhardy for us to sit here, pass a law that we know is unconstitutional, and actually let it go, because we swore to protect the Constitution. So, Honorable Speaker, much as there is substance and a lot of substance to what Honorable Wandai is saying, but this House also has procedure. And as you have ruled, Honorable Speaker, we agree with you that the proper procedure must be followed. If this matter is not before the House today, Honorable Wandai has an opportune time. When this matter is presented on the day that it will be debated, he will have his day. And we will also have our say on the matter. But at the end of the day, because it is a constitutional issue, it is a matter before the Speaker to make a ruling and guide the House on how we move forward. So we want to thank you, Honorable Wandai, for raising a constitutional matter, but we ask of you to hold your horse until that particular time. Then we can have a robust debate and the Speaker can make a ruling that can guide the House. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. I think that matter is now settled. Next week, we can move to the next order.
Order number 8, procedural motion, reduction of publication period for a specified bill.
Deputy Leader of Majority.
Honorable Speaker, I want to thank you, and I beg to move that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 120I, 1C, this House resolves to reduce the publication period of the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bill number 14 of 2024, from 7 days to 4 days. Honorable Speaker, this bill, the Division of Revenue Bill, is a very important bill that unlocks debate and preparations for budgets, both at the National Assembly and at the county assemblies. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, for us to wait for the number of days, it will inconvenience very many institutions, including Treasury and our Committee on Budget Making in their preparation for the budget. And also, we would like county governments to start preparations of their budgets. And this Division of Revenue Bill gives the opportunity for county governments to start preparation of the bill. And therefore, we would like to request this House, Honorable Speaker, that we get approval to reduce the publication period from 7 days to 4 days, so that this week we can do the first reading of the Division of Revenue and then subsequently start a second reading and debate, so that we can unlock the monies that go to the counties. Honorable Speaker, you know, Division of Revenue Bill is very important, a very important piece of legislation that dovetails towards the making of the budget. And therefore, we are in that season of budget making, and therefore, we will request this House to approve the reduction of the period from 7 to 4, so that we can start the budget making. I would like to request the Honorable Bowen Kangogo, the Honorable Member who has served now a third term, to second me on this motion. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to second this bill for the reduction of the Division of Revenue Bill publication from 7 days to 4 days. And Madam Speaker, you will find that many of our counties now, they are struggling even to pay employees because of lack of funds. And Madam Speaker, reducing the publications from 7 to 4 days, Madam Speaker, is going to help us to fast track this bill and make sure that we are done with it before we present it to the Senate, Madam Speaker, so that the resources which are needed by our counties, Madam Speaker, are sent to our various counties. Madam Speaker, the second issue also, Madam Speaker, it is very important that this bill is reduced. We have the 4 days so that we go through all the legislative process and finish it on time, Madam Speaker. I support. I second.
Honorable members, allow me to propose the question that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order number 121C, this House resolves to reduce the publication period of the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bill number 14 of 2024 from 7 days to 4 days. Okay, you can see the mood of the House is that we put the question. Honorable members, I now put the question that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order number 121C, this House resolves to reduce the publication period of the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bill number 14 of 2024 from 7 days to 4 days. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 9, the Natural Resources Benefit Sharing Bill, Senate Bill number 6 of 2022. Question to be put.
Honorable members, allow me to put the question that the Natural Resources Benefit Sharing Bill, Senate Bill number 6 of 2022, be read a second time. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? Nay. The nays have it.
Order number 10, the Division of Revenue Bill, National Assembly Bill number 14 of 2024, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to provide for equitable division of revenue raised nationally between the national and county governments in the 2024-2025 financial year and for connected purposes. Order number 11, the Regional Development Authorities Bill, National Assembly Bill number 7 of 2023, second reading.
Honorable members, before we resume debate on order number 11, allow me to recognize the following schools who are seated in the speakers and public galleries. Mutumo Mixed Secondary School, Kitui South Constituency, Kitui County. Nyangati Secondary School, Mwea Constituency, Kirinyaga County. And Ngita Girls Secondary School, Alego Usonga Constituency, Siaya County. I will give you an opportunity. Please hold on. Let me give the first speaker, then come to you. The Honorable Maina Mathenge had how many minutes left? 8 minutes. I'll come to you. Was it you who had? I'll give you. She's not in? Okay. Then I'll give the Honorable Rachel Nyamai then.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for indulging me. I would like to take this opportunity, Honorable Speaker, to welcome students from various counties, constituencies in our country this afternoon, and more specifically, Honorable Speaker, welcome students from my constituency, Mutomo Mixed Secondary School. As I welcome them, I would like to tell them that this is the August House, where legislation is done, representation is done, and I would like to encourage you to know that it is possible to find yourselves in this place, to be able to one day represent your country. And as you go home, be assured that the members of parliament we have here have your interest at heart. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker.
Okay, I will give you a few minutes. The Honorable Member from Alego Usonga.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, let me welcome students and teachers from Ngea Girls High School from my constituency, Alego Usonga. Madam Speaker,
I wish to inform the House that Ngia Girls High School is the oldest girls' school in the entire Nyanza region. Also, Madam Speaker, Ngia Girls High School is the only national school in Alego Usonga constituency. Madam Speaker, this school has had notable alumni from this House. Madam Speaker, the former MP for Game, the late Dr. Grace Ogot, was an alumni of Ngia Girls High School. Madam Speaker, also, ICC Judge Justice Joyce Aluoch is an alumni of Ngia Girls High School. Madam Speaker, the late Oriero Gomanduli is also an alumni of Ngia Girls High School. Madam Speaker, there are so many notable Kenyans who have gone through Ngia Girls High School. Madam Speaker, this school is very special. And Madam Speaker, as I welcome teachers and students into this house, I want to say, Madam Speaker, that I am proud of this school because this school continuously excels in national examinations. Madam Speaker, I know that seated in the gallery are girls who are going to join this house in future. I want to tell them that this house belongs to them, and in future they should not limit their ambitions, and they should work hard to ensure that they become members of parliament. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Hello? Just hold on, please. Hold on.
I'm an alumni of that school.
Okay, we are on order number 11. I'd like to call upon the Vice Chairperson of the Regional Development Committee, Honorable Wamaua M. Maragwa.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me a chance to support the bill from the Committee of Regional Development. Madam Speaker, this bill seeks to consolidate the laws relating to regional development and to provide the establishment, functions, and powers of the 6 regional development that are mostly found in the ASO areas. Madam Speaker, this bill also which has the authorities are established by separate acts of parliament, and therefore the bill seeks to merge the establishment and the operation of the 6 authorities so that they can be under a single act of parliament. And also, Madam Speaker, it seeks to standardize the functions of the authority subject to the unique areas of operation of each of the regional development, because wherever they are not in the same areas within the same environment, and therefore this bill is seeking to make sure that the standardization is there. Madam Speaker, when it came, the committee has narrowed it down to some areas like the membership following the proposed following the Mwongozo, the provisions of the Mwongozo Code of Governance for the State Corporation, so that the size of the board shall be limited to 9 members, excluding the ex officio member, contrary now to what the bill has, though this is an amendment that the committee will bring during the committee of the whole House. Madam Speaker, when we support, and I'm hoping this House will support this bill, as per the Article 189, Sub-Article 2, it outlines the importance of cooperation among different levels of government to carry out their duties effectively. Because, Madam Speaker, most of whatever is done by the regional development authorities happens to be under the functions of the county government. And therefore, Madam Speaker, we need a lot of cooperation so that these 2 levels of government will not be seen to be fighting, but in any way to improve and to fill the gap of the socio-economic status of our people. Therefore, this collaboration is crucial to make sure that we achieve better development outcomes for the people of this country. And therefore, by combining their strengths and resources, the RDAs and the county government can be able to join forces and be able to tackle some inequalities. Also, they can join to boost the economic progress and also improve the overall quality of life for everyone in the areas where we find the regional authorities are. We know there are some areas that we do not have the regional development authorities, but the purpose of why the Act came and formed this regional development authority is to make sure in most of our regions where we have the ASO areas, we are adding another strength to assist the county government to be able to fill up the gaps. And therefore, Madam Speaker, the RDAs will remain vital entities in our country's development landscape. And thanks to their diverse functions and proven capacity to foster the socio-economic growth while effectively managing our resources. They also play a very vital role in driving sustainable growth and resource management nationwide. Madam Speaker, this bill had come during the 12th Parliament, but we were not able to conclude on it due to Parliament coming at a sine die. And therefore, as a committee of the regional development, we found, because it is very important to combine and to harmonize and to standardize and to have one act of Parliament, it was good so that we bring it. Due to time, I may not be able to bring all what is contained in the Regional Development Authority Bill, but I want to single out that the regional development authorities are credited to have conceptualized and implemented some of the very mega projects that we have, like Masiga and Kiabere multipurpose dams on River Tana. We also have Takwel multipurpose dam on River Takwel. We also have Sodu River multipurpose project on River Sodu, under which Sodu Mereu hydropower was implemented. We also have, Madam Speaker, Mwache Dam multipurpose development project, which is still ongoing under implementation. And I want to say, Madam Speaker, a lot has been done by the RDAs. It has created employment, and it has also made sure that it has made some of our women groups, youth groups very busy, doing projects that are income generating, and therefore out of marketing, whatever they are getting out of that after being supported, Madam Speaker, we are finding that our people are still putting something into their pocket. Therefore, I would request the members of this House to fully support this regional development bill so that we can be anchored on one act of Parliament instead of having the so many acts making each of the 6 regional development, and so that we may also be able to enhance collaboration and cooperation of the national government and the county government, because all the 2 levels of government mean well to improve the socio-economic status of our people. Madam Speaker, thank you.
Honorable members, before I give the next speaker, I just decided to rise so that I can make this clear. I think the speaker a few weeks ago ruled that people will only be, honorable members will be given the opportunity to speak if they have their cards. And if you don't have your card, the clerk's office says it's available upstairs, so you can get it. It will make it easier for us to work. And also, if you have a school from your constituency that's here, if you write it on a piece of paper and just leave it at the table here so that you're not distracting me, it will make it so much easier. And everybody can be able to have an opportunity. So with that, I think before we go to the next speaker, I think I'll give Just 2 minutes to the Honorable Member for Rangwe, Honorable Lillian Gogo, because I know that you're a former student of Nia Girls.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. I appreciate you, and that's the beauty and the power of a woman. And I want to appreciate the great Nia Girls who are at the public gallery. I'm an alumni of Nia Girls High School, the only national school in Alego Usonga constituency where I was born and bred. And I want to celebrate Nia Girls for making me who I am before I moved to Kisumu Girls National School. I want to appreciate you, and I want to tell you that I once sat in the seat where you are sitting. I once slept in the dormitories where you are sleeping now. I wore that very uniform and the tie that you have worn today. And I can tell you that sky is the limit. The best is yet to come from you. It is your time and your turn to do your best at Nia Girls National School. And the country is looking up to you. Where Dr. Lillian Achieng Gogo is, I may not be in this particular seat forever, but I want to tell one of the Nia girls who is seated at the gallery that in due time, when my time is done, I want to see one of the Nia girls come and occupy this very seat where I am seated. I want to thank Nia girls for making me who I am today. And I want to appreciate all the girls in this nation. Together with the boys, the men in the house are complaining. And I want to thank you, Honorable Speaker, because CNN is complaining. And I want to thank you, Honorable Speaker, because the girls, Nia girls, are not able to see you from where you are. But I know that that seat occupied by the Speaker, who is a woman, is one time going to be occupied by one of the girls from the Nia Girls High School. So I thank you so much, Honorable Speaker, and I appreciate my alma mater. And I want to tell you, Nia girls, I'm waiting to see how you are going to perform this year, and I'm going to come over for the party. I thank you and I appreciate you, Honorable Speaker.
Oh, sorry. The Honorable Member for Ganze, Honorable Tungule, MP. Was I heard?
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity. I want to say from the onset that I support this bill on regional development, and I'm also a member of the Regional Development Committee that came up with this bill. Madam Speaker, regional development authorities have been here with us since independence. Mr. Speaker, these have been the engines of development, especially in our rural areas. But, Madam Speaker, these authorities that we have had have been operating on different laws. So their functions have not been coordinated. Their functions have been haphazard. And as a result, the outcomes of the operations could not be properly accounted for. Madam Speaker, Mr. Speaker, we know that these authorities have the capacity to develop our rural areas if they are given the necessary legal framework. But it has been difficult, Mr. Speaker, because they have been operating under different acts of parliament. This bill seeks, therefore, to collapse all these different acts of parliament and bring these regional development authorities to operate under one act of parliament. Mr. Speaker, one of the benefits that are going to accrue when these regional authorities are put under one law is that their functions are going to be coordinated, and it will be easy even to oversight them. So I want to say that I support this, this bill because it's going to be of a lot of benefit to this country. Mr. Speaker, one of the things that this bill seeks to rectify is the fact that the boards, these regional development authorities have been operating on very bloated boards. And most of the boards members that are appointed do not come from the areas that these boards operate from. We have 6 RDAs in this country, all of them operating under different acts of parliament. But when it came to the operations or the appointments of the boards, you will see CDA or Coast Development Authorities, for example, it has board members from maybe another area of this country. One of the things that this bill is going to correct is the fact that, first of all, the number of board members is going to be reduced from the current 12 to 9 to make it to conform with the Mwongozo guidelines. And again, apart from the ex-officio members, these board members are going to come from the areas where these boards are operating from. And I'm sure this is going to be beneficial to these boards because many of the board members will be coming from the areas that the board are operating, so they'll be conversant with the issues that are affecting people in that area. Mr. Speaker, regional development authorities have been operating before even devolution came. And some of the functions of these authorities have been taken up by the counties. But there's still a big role that these authorities can play in this country. Even some of the functions that are devolved and are now under the purview of the counties, there's still a lot that needs to be done. We know functions like water are now under the counties. But again, there are some projects that counties cannot do alone because they are cross-cutting. There are some projects that we need to bring like 2 or 3 counties together so that these projects can be effectively done. This is where RDAs can come in very effectively. We have seen attempts by counties to form regional bodies so that they can pull resources together. These are functions that can be done effectively by RDAs. So I know there has been complaints or there have been attempts by the Council of Governors to disband the RDAs. But I want to say that the roles that RDAs are playing are complementing and supplementing what the counties are doing. Because we know that already the counties have so much in their hands. They are not effectively implementing what they are supposed to do. Bringing an extra hand to help them also do their functions is not bad at all. So I want to say that much as we appreciate what the counties are doing, but there are some roles that these RDAs can play that are going to be even beneficial to the counties themselves. We have seen the attempt to form economic blocks. This means that if you pull resources together for different counties, we can be more effective in our undertakings. So it is high time also the Council of Governors supports what the RDAs are doing on the ground, because I'm very sure that it is complementing their roles. Mr. Speaker, that is my submission, and I want to say that I support this bill by the regional development authorities. Thank you.
The Honorable Christine Ombaka.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I just want to welcome Nia girls in this August House because this is the first time that they've been here. I want to tell the girls that this is where we work. Here is where we represent you. This is where we make laws that protect you as a girl. And the laws that we have made in this house is meant to protect you and to encourage you to improve your lives. We have talked about education for the girl child. We have talked about empowerment of the girl child. This is where we debate about it. Nia Girls is a school that has brought out many strong women in this country. In a European tongue or in the European sense, it is an Ivy League kind of school, the best of the best. Therefore, girls, aim high, work hard, and then join us one day when opportunity comes. Otherwise, I expect you to excel in life, complete your education, and the sky will be the limit. Thank you, and God bless you.
The Honorable Christine, ordinarily I thought you'd be speaking on the motion, but you have had your way. Nevertheless, let's have the Honorable Phyllis Bartow, but speak on the motion. Do we have Phyllis Bartow in the House? If you are not speaking on this, I can move to the next member.
Mr. Speaker, I am not speaking on this particular one.
Thank you. Let's have the Honorable Ekomas Mutuse. Are you in the House? Now, there's a general atmosphere that people keyed in to speak on matters that may have lapsed already. So could we refresh the whole screen and then we key in so that we are able to know who wants to speak on this. Meanwhile, Leader.
What do you do? Mr. Speaker, I raise understanding order number 95 to request that the mover may be called to reply.
Order, Honorable Mutuse. Number one, Honorable Mutuse, you are completely out of order because one, you are not even sure what you wanted to speak on. Then secondly, you want to call on standing order number 95. That's wrong. Let's have the leader speak on this. Give him the mic.
Honorable Speaker. All right. Honorable Speaker, this bill, the Regional Development Authorities Bill, is very important. It's a very important bill. And I would like to urge many members to contribute because it affects us. One, Honorable Speaker, we must align these regional development authorities to the Constitution because some of the mandates that they have taken belong to the county government. Now, because they belong to the county government, it becomes counterproductive because it's a constitution. Actually, it is a constitutional issue because regional development authorities want to do water, they want to do education, they want to do roads, they want to do health, and yet regional development authorities are entities under the national government. County governments should be given space to do their work within their mandate, within Schedule 4. To continue to have regional development authorities in this government that have functions that cut across is contravention of the Constitution. And therefore, they must be aligned. They either need to choose to be animals or to be birds. We need to align the regional development authority. Today, we have around 9 regional developments. And these regional developments, Honorable Speaker, are doing work that is cross-cutting. So the first point, Honorable Speaker, we must abide by the Constitution. In Schedule 14, Schedule 4 of the Constitution, where should they lie? Should they lie within the national government or the county governments? Honorable Speaker, there has been the argument by governors, for which I support to some extent, because governors have been setting regional blocks which require money so that they can do the functions of the county government. But we have been denying regional blocks resources because we are taking the money to regional development authorities. And yet they do not have mandate to do the work of the county government. Honorable Speaker, I would change this law, and I think I'll have my say in third reading, that we change that instead of having these regional development authorities which consume money, they pay a lot of staff, they do nothing. Honorable Speaker, we change it to give it to the counties. They hold what is called the regional blocks, as we fund regional blocks, and they do work for county government, and we see productivity, Honorable Speaker. Some of these regional development blocks, authorities, Honorable Speaker, receive a lot of money from donors. In the case of Coast Development Authority, it has received millions of shillings from the Italian government. But what was it that we see? We see them sitting, they divide the tenders among their colleagues, they divide them among their families, and at the end of the day, the coast people have never benefited from the Coast Development Authority because there is no structure to govern them. Even the minister at the top, the regional development minister, has no say completely under this regional development because they are like parastatals, and yet they are not parastatals. But they consume a lot of money from national government and give no results. So, Honorable Speaker, I would like to see either we strengthen them to take care of counties or we strengthen them to take care of national government. But it will give us an opportunity to send even more money and development to counties if we allow these regional development authorities to be what is now the economic blocks that we have. We have Jumuiya counties of one in the coast. We have the Lake Basin, the Lake Regional, the Lake, not Lake Basin authorities, the authority, the block which brings the counties at the Lake region, where you have Nyamira, you have Homa Bay, you have Kericho, you have all those. You know, that block, we give it money. But Lake Basin Development Authority is doing work which the governors should be doing. You know, so there's a conflict in law, Honorable Speaker. And I just hope my friend, the chairperson who is here, takes cognizance of these facts so that we reform regional development. But they must choose where they must belong. They cannot be a cow and be a goat at the same time. They have to choose who they want to be so that we get benefit for the money that we put. Secondly, Honorable Speaker, we need to align also them to the Mwongozo. You know, I think they have many board members. How do you bring a board member to Coast Development Authority and give a membership to someone who has never been to the coast, who understands nothing about the coast region, but he's a member of Coast Development Authority? He's a board member, but he doesn't know anything about coast. How does he sit down to decide development issues for a region he understands nothing about? How do you bring a person from the coast to the Lake Basin Regional Authority to discuss issues of the lake
what's your point
where
of order,
he
Honorable
understands
Member?
nothing about, Honorable
There's
Speaker.
a point of order there.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On this bill on the RDAs, one of the things that this bill is going to sort is people who are coming from those regions are the ones who are supposed to be board members of those RDAs. And this is one of those things that, kindly, Mr. Speaker, I want the Honorable Member for Kilifi to relax. This bill is trying to sort out this issue of members who are coming from other regions going to RDAs that don't come from their regions, so that we have members who come from those regions and understand those regions to be board members of those RDAs. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Speaker, thank you very much, Honorable, for the information. But I actually support that position that members of the RDA board, for the particular RDA board, must come from the region. They must come from the region. You cannot bring people from other regions to come and sit in council for a board in a region where those people don't understand anything. So, Honorable Speaker, I concur with Honorable Papa Jafo on this matter, that we must have members of the board from those regions.
What's
Honorable
your
Speaker,
point of order, Honorable
as I conclude.
Ruku? Leader, just take your seat. There's a very serious interest in your speak here. Ruku, what is out of order?
Honorable Speaker, I tend to differ seriously.
That is debate, not a point of order.
It's point of order. Point of order, Mr. Speaker. It is not right.
Order.
That is debate.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Take your seat, please.
Right.
On which point of order are you rising on?
I want to raise a point of order.
Which point of order have you risen?
That it is not right, Mr. Speaker.
That is debate.
It's not right, Mr. Speaker. We stand here to segment this nation when we have professionals in the Republic of Kenya with knowledge of each and every corner of the Republic of Kenya. Not only knowledge about each and every corner of the Republic of Kenya, but also the region of East and Central Africa. We have Kenyans who have gone to school very well, who can be able to serve in each and every board, regardless whether it is Coast Board,
or Rift Valley Development Authority, or East and or Tana River, Mr. Speaker, we will be driving this country in the wrong direction, where we want to segment our nation in tribal cocoons. And it is very shameful, Mr. Speaker, for Honorable Linda, Deputy Leader of Majority, to champion that kind of thing.
Order. You have made your point.
I submit.
Honorable Speaker, I want to say this. The best expert...
Order, members.
Honorable
Relax.
Speaker.
Order,
Honorable
member.
Speaker.
Order.
Honorable Speaker.
Order, members.
I'm on the floor.
Order. Ruku has made his point, and so clearly. You may proceed.
I want to say this. The best professional, the best expert on matters coast is a guy from the coast region. There can never be any other expert, Honorable Speaker, better than the person who comes from the coast region. Mr. Speaker, I'll speak boldly, and I'll say this. This has been used for many years. It has been used for many years to marginalize communities in their own region, where people bring board members from other places to come and be members of boards in certain regions and use it to oppress and take away resources. Honorable Speaker, I'll stand by that. The best experts in coast are in the coast. They will take over all the boards in the coast because that's what it must be. Honorable Speaker, that I will stand for. So we must reform these regional bodies to ensure that people from a certain region run their boards. Just like counties, people from the same counties run their counties. That we will stand by. You can have your opinion, CNN, because you want to come to the coast and colonize the people from the coast. We will not allow you that space at all. People from the coast will manage their resources. If you don't have an RDA, go and create yours. But
I think we have heard you, and you may take your seat. Honorable members, you don't have to shout. You just come in procedurally, and you'll have your speak on this. Could we have Honorable Tendamolo, do you want to speak on this? Proceed. And that's the orderly way in which you want to run the House, not shouting. Proceed, Honorable Tendamolo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to express support generally for the bill. The idea of a regional development authority coming in one bill is generally a good idea. In fact, Mr. Speaker, the case has been made to consolidate many more bodies, some of which do things that are the same and they replicate each other. I think we need to rationalize the number of public bodies we have generally in this country. While doing it, Mr. Speaker, consolidation is a good thing, but one of the things we must look at is not to make these places preserves of political failures. Those who have failed in politics, then they are taken there not to help development, but as a brooding ground, as an holding ground, waiting for the next election cycle. So some of them, instead of focusing on regional development, they politic day in, day out. That is something we need to check on as we are reconstituting these boards. I support the idea of reducing the number of board members. Indeed, it doesn't even have to be the 9. It can even be reduced further, because experience has shown that the leaner the board, the less the opportunity for corruption, and the more the efficient the board is. So that is something to consider. Mr. Speaker, as we are doing that, I hope that they will be able to resolve some outstanding issues. For example, and the consultation here is rather loud. Mr. Speaker,
Order, honorable members,
the consultation here is rather loud, though valid.
Please take your seats, honorable member.
Thank you.
Or consult
Mr. Speaker, there are some of these regional bodies, regional development bodies that have been unable to resolve certain issues. And a case in point is the Lake Basin Development Authority with what's called the Lake Basin Development Mall that has now taken almost 20 years. Almost 20 years, and we are unable to resolve it because successive boards and managers are not interested in resolving it. They are only interested in seeing what other opportunities they can get. I really hope that as we are going this way, we'll be able to resolve these outstanding matters. Mr. Speaker, two more things. There's one thing Honorable Baya has said which I am in agreement with, although he was confusing me, because he starts by saying he supports the bill. Then he says at the third reading, he's going to persuade the House to drop the idea of supporting the bill so that all these tasks can go to the counties. So he's probating and reprobating. The Honorable Owen Baya must decide where he stands, especially as the Deputy Leader of Majority. You must consult and know which bill you are supporting, which one you're opposing, because you confuse us. We don't even know whether you're speaking as the Deputy Majority Leader or the member for Kilifi. And you know, sometimes now we wonder what to do with you. But having said that, the idea of rationalizing the tasks and functions of these regional bodies vis-a-vis the functions of counties is a legitimate one. And that is something that must be focused on. However, the Honorable Owen Baya has always spoken to this thing of coast being run by coastarians. All these resources that these regional bodies are dealing with, they're not regional resources, they're national resources. Even if it's Lake Victoria, it's not a resource for Nyanza, it's a resource for Kenya. Even if it's the coast, it's a resource for Kenya. So let us not tribalize and, regionalize even things that can be national. What we must bear in mind is that these regional bodies are being funded by the taxpayer from the entire country. These regional bodies are supposed to do functions consistent with the Constitution, and the Constitution requires diversity and balancing. We must ensure there is diversity and balancing and merit, so that ultimately, if a man from Tarakaniti, like the Honorable Murugara, can be the best leader in Coast Development Authority, why not? If it is possible. If you, Owen Baya, turns out to be the best MD that Lake Victoria can ever have, why not? Provided you do what it fits. We cannot be amending the laws to make our situation and ethnicization worse when we should be endeavoring to be one nation state. Mr. Speaker, I support the bill. I denounce this Owen Baya regionalization agenda, and I suggest that we pass the bill as it is. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable members in the Speaker's Gallery, Order Honorable Baya. Honorable members in the Speaker's Gallery is St. Francis Girls Mangu, Gatundu North Constituency, Kiambu. Do we have any member of Kiambu region to just welcome the girls? Let me give to Senior Counsel that opportunity to welcome the girls in the House.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Allow me kindly to welcome the St. Francis Mangu girls to the National Assembly. It's a school I remember very well. When I did my O-levels at Mangu High School, we used to visit St. Francis girls at Mangu. Therefore, I remember their school with nostalgia because it was part of the development as we grew up. St. Francis girls, this is the House of the National Assembly. I know you're studying very hard as usual, and sooner or later, you will actually be coming here to represent the various constituencies where you come from. So do your exams well, study well, and you are going to be great ladies in this country. Welcome to the National Assembly.
Very well. The Honorable Letapila, MP Samburu, proceed.
Please. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to support the bill on regional authorities. I am a member of the committee, and I would like to say from the onset that, in my opinion, the regional authorities have been an answer of sorts, especially to marginalized constituencies and parts of this country, which were victims of the Sessional Paper number 10, which legitimately marginalized part of this country. and which deem part of this country to be less productive and therefore undeserving of state support in terms of development. RDS have also been able to provide strategic interventions in terms of mega projects of national value, like mega dams, that have greatly helped this country in terms of food security through irrigation, among other measures. Regional authorities have been a great complement to devolution, especially from the national level, and should be viewed as such. This bill seeks to consolidate all RDS under one legislation, because individual RDS have been having their bills, their acts. And every RDA, in essence, has been having an even board membership. And this bill is seeking to drop them from 12 to 9 members. This bill also seeks to align the RDS with the 2010 Constitution. And I support the sentiment from Honorable Otiende Amolo on the constitution of the membership of these boards. I believe that the Constitution of Kenya gives every Kenyan an equal opportunity to serve in this country, and that meritocracy should be the order of choosing the membership of these regional authorities. I also support the idea that the membership of this committee, of these authorities, should include locals, because these authorities serve specific areas, and locals have better knowledge of prevailing situations and conditions in those areas. Regional authorities which serve areas, let's say, of like northern Kenya, if you get members from specific places where those authorities serve, are better people to understand the problems affecting those communities, and therefore better place to serve and to offer even services and better advice which will add value to those authorities, especially in those areas. I thank the committee of the regional authorities for taking views during its public participation, and those who are part of those who are the things which are coming out strongly during those public participations. We were getting strong sentiments that these authorities are purviews of political appointees who don't really add value. Communities who are saying that we need local representation in these committees for better service delivery. Those are views which were taken by this bill, and that is where you get those sentiments from members of the committee that the membership should include locals. We were also getting sentiments from communities that the membership is bloated, and that's where those reduction of the board membership came out. We believe, or rather I believe, that the RDS should be retained at the national level to complement the development at other levels of government. The notion that these RDS should go to devolved units were sentiments which were getting strong opposition during public participation. The people who are giving the feedback strongly supported the RDS to remain at the national level. Many of them were viewing the RDS the same way they are viewing CDF developments at the constituency level. They're saying they are seeing more impact, they're getting more value for their money, from these RDS. And I support the notion that the RDS should remain at the national level and shouldn't go to the devolved units. Unlike what the leader of majority was saying, and I support Honorable Tiende Omolo there, the leader of majority confused all of us because we didn't know whether he was supporting the bill or opposing the bill, because if he had gone through the bill properly, he would have read and understood what I am saying as a member of this committee. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That's my submission.
And the leader, you should take your place. You know, every member is having a comment on your earlier statement. Next to speak on this is veteran MP Adan Kenan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on the face of it, this is a very good bill. It ought to have come a long time ago, pursuant to the enactment of the current constitution. And I want to congratulate the chairman, the Honorable Chapong, and his team for a well-intended bill. But Mr. Speaker, having said this, if I look at the first object, memorandum of object and reason for the bill, for the establishment and powers and function of the bill in order to streamline these many regional bodies actually is a timely one. Mr. Speaker, I hope Honorable Bayer, the Deputy Leader of Majority, will hear our sentiments. Mr. Speaker, this bill is a precursor. This bill is a precursor to the promulgation of the current constitution, and the Honorable Bayer is still very busy consulting. Mr. Speaker, the operations, activities, the mandates of these regional bodies has been overlapping. The original idea of having these regional bodies was superb, it was good. Mzoimoy and cohorts had a good idea of devolving funds through these regional bodies. But Mr. Speaker, over time, because of the changing dynamics of the Republic of Kenya, and the changing dynamics, Mr. Speaker, of our own constitutional framework, some of these regional bodies have been declared nugatory in terms of their functions, in terms of the original mandate, and therefore streamlining them, putting them in perspective in order to complement the role of the national government, Mr. Speaker, is superb. What is not good is what is being suggested by the Honorable Bayer, and I'm sure he's a leader who is trying to create a niche for himself in the coast region, but that does not negate the national spirit of national cohesion, unity of purpose, and generally, this country, Mr. Speaker, over the years, one of the things that has really reduced every aspect of our development agenda is regionalism, tribalism, cronyism, and corruption. Mr. Speaker, as much as I agree the people of coast require that dynamic approach, but we must also appreciate coast region is part and parcel of the Republic of Kenya, and Kenya is a unitary state, and therefore that approach to our development agenda only negates the national spirit.
Is that member, honorable member, for go back and do the correct thing? This is a house of rules and order. Proceed.
That approach which was being suggested by the Honorable Bayer only negates the national spirit. It is not in tandem with both the letter and the spirit of the current constitution. It doesn't appreciate the diversity of the Republic of Kenya. It doesn't appreciate the premier nature of the Republic of Kenya, and therefore I thought you as a very wise man will have ruled the Honorable Bayer out of order to the extent that his creative imaginations actually still linger on with those old ideas of regionalism, Majimboism, and other negative ideas that actually we have shed off under the current generous constitution, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, having said this, it's also time that we need to dissect the mandates, the activities, in line, first of all, with the current constitution, in line with the relevant statutory establishment, and also in line with the Mongozo rules, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, these, once properly contextualized, taken into account the objects and the reasons of this particular bill, this will only create an effective, efficient, transparently run regional authority, Mr. Speaker, and that is what we endeavor to have, and that is what we are looking forward to, and that's, I'm sure, both the intent and the motivation, what has motivated actually the chairman of this critical committee. Mr. Speaker, having said this, we also need to think out of the box. This premier country, whose leadership the Almighty God has bestowed on this critical group, Mr. Speaker, requires two things. We need to think out of the box. Over the years, everything that we have done has been laden with tribalism. It has failed to work. Look at where we are. And Mr. Speaker, I want to get your attention on this. Few years ago, and I know most of us were born after independence, once we got our independence, the Kenya that even the colonials had in mind and the Kenya that we have today are completely different. And that's why even the president and the government are struggling to put us back into where we are supposed to be. Look at this, Mr. Speaker. We used to have KMC. And I will always say this. In 1968, and I'm sure many of you were born after 1968, the GDP of the Republic of Kenya was the same as the one of South Korea. What has killed today the GDP of South Korea? 50 times that of Kenya. Botswana borrowed from Kenya in 1968, including even the setting up of Kenya Meat Commission. Where are we today, Mr. Speaker? Today, Botswana provides meat to the entire world. Kenya Meat Commission is under receivership. What has taken us there? Tribalism, regionalism, corruption, nepotism, and everything else that we can attribute to this negative thinking that the Honorable Obaya was trying to introduce. I thought the Honorable Obaya, being a very progressive deputy majority leader, should tell us how we can get out of these perennial challenges in the name of tribalism, in the name of regionalism, so that Kenya joins the League of Developing Nations. Mr. Speaker, I want to say this. This bill, when I look at it, dealing with the formations of these regional boards is an administrative issue. And Mr. Speaker, I want to ask my colleagues here. Today you are a member of parliament. Tomorrow you will be an ordinary citizen. And therefore, as we do this, we should legislate for posterity, not having a particular issue, a particular season in mind. And that is why the collective thought of this particular group, I can see our SG of the Northern Kenya Parliamentary Group is a member of I'm told you are a member of this committee. And this is good. And these are the things that we need to address. We need to have the entity that deals with Northern Kenya, Wasenyuro, function efficiently, effectively, so that they have one of the best MDs. But because of structural challenges, that organization cannot work, Mr. Speaker. And this is some of the things that the bill attempts to cure. And I want to commend the committee. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, there comes a time, as the late Professor George Saitoti says, had said, that the country is more important than individual thinking. We need to collectively put our thoughts together so that this Kenya that we have here, through our own little contributions, Mr. Speaker, joins the League of Developed Nations. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Joseph McClap.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to use the words of Senior Counsel Otiende Omolo that I generally support this bill. And to be able to fast track all of us, Mr. Speaker, is that, look, this is actually, this country has moved, Mr. Speaker, you can protect me from these people from one county. Mr. Speaker, protect us from these people, members of parliament, who are coming from one county, they are obstructing us, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, where have we come from? Mr. Speaker, there are people conversing in a language that is not parliamentary, and all of them come from the same
Honorable
county.
Meli, Chairman Education. Order. Your discussion
They
is
all
too
come
loud.
from the same county. All of them four.
Okay, proceed.
And in the mother tongue. Mr. Speaker, I want to bring us to speed that why are we doing this and why it is necessary to do this amendment, this bill, Mr. Speaker. It's because in 1980s, this country tried to address specific inequalities that were affecting Kenyans in every region through what is called rural focus for rural development strategy. After that, Mr. Speaker, we moved to regional authorities, Mr. Speaker, in the 90s, establishment of regional authorities to be able to address the challenges that are facing Kenyans in specific regions of Kenya so that they are brought up for development, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, what then followed after all those ones, the focus for rural development in 1980s and the regional development authorities of 90s, now we entered into the Constitution of Kenya 2010. Those are the steps where we have come from. The Constitution of Kenya 2010 actually subdivided this country into 47 county governments that we have today. Again, why? That Kenya is a country with diverse people, and to be able to actually bring up Kenya in a manner that no government shall discriminate, then the establishments of the county governments so that they have equitable share of resources, Mr. Speaker. Then, what now missed is this bill. Because, Mr. Speaker, after now we've sorted out Kenya into 47 governments so that we can actually address, every regional government shall be able to address the things that are specific to them, then we did not touch the regional authorities, because now there are functions that are county government, there are functions that are national government, which are run by the regional authorities. Therefore, it is necessary, the bill sponsored by Honorable Peter Lochangabong is therefore necessary to realign the regional authorities with the new Kenya, the new order in Kenya, the establishments of county governments and the national government. So, Speaker, and that is why there is a fourth schedule, that there are things that are specific to be done by the county governments, and there are things that are specific for national government. This bill, therefore, tries to reorganize the regional authorities in a manner that shall conform to the Constitution of Kenya 2010. Mr. Speaker, why it is necessary to do these reforms, Mr. Speaker, some of these authorities have become obsolete in terms of performance because they are run by regional kingpins who have lost elections, Mr. Speaker, and breeding corruption in those particular institutions, Mr. Speaker. This is why this bill is necessary, because under this bill it will be able to sort very specific things that can be done by the county governments using the regional authority, and those things that can be done by us at the national government. And therefore, resources will follow functions, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we have one, for example, the Kerio Valley Development Authority. Mr. Speaker, the bigger vision of the Kerio Valley, for example, I'm just using an example where I belong, Mr. Speaker, was actually to bring up development in the Kerio Valley region to the level that are enjoyed by others. We lost the vision because there were so many other things that came up, Mr. Speaker, and we allowed the regional authorities to be run by our kinsmen in terms of management, board. And, Mr. Speaker, I think going forward in Kenya, to avoid what the Deputy Leader of Majority was saying, appointment of board members must meet some specific academic qualifications so that we don't just appoint every Tom, Dick, and Harry to those particular institutions. There are some professional things and technical knowledge that are required to run those institutions, Mr. Speaker. And I want to propose that as we even go through this bill, Mr. Speaker, Chairman, there is need now to synchronize and say the boards of a regional authority shall not have more than a third of the people in that particular region. Let's make Kenyans who are qualified, who have experience, who have technical knowledge, so that they don't converse in their mother tongue like my colleagues who are speaking here and share tenders and everything, and they bring down the authorities, Mr. Speaker. We need authorities that are able to change lives and bring development in the regions of Kenya in a manner that is enshrined in our Constitution, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, even the membership of the board, some boards, Mr. Speaker, are having 16 members. Others are having 9. There is need to put this House of Regional Authorities in order, not more than 7, for example, Mr. Speaker, so that you have a lean, manageable board. And even their secretariat must be people who are knowledgeable and qualified, and not specific from those particular regions, because if you want to finish an authority very fast, put people from the same region, all of them. They will crumble, and it will finish, and we shall have wasted taxpayers' money, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the regional authorities, the 6 we are talking about here, Mr. Speaker, receives exchequer from all Kenyans regardless of how they voted. It is revenue. It is what we do here. It is the division of revenue that we give to the county governments, and and the taxes that Kenyans are paying, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, we must nationalize our institutions so that they are able to be brought up in a manner that will be able to change Kenya. If we are interested in changing Kenya, Mr. Speaker, is whenever an institution is established, Mr. Speaker, let us accept that we must have the right persons in terms of qualifications, in terms of management and experience, so that we are able to bring up development to the rest of the country, Mr. Speaker. I'll give you an example, Mr. Speaker. Again, the Takwel hydropower, Mr. Speaker, was supposed to generate power, and the water that is remaining is supposed to be used for irrigation in the entire side of Turkana and West Pokot, Mr. Speaker. That is what will change Kenya. We need this country to become food secure. Kerio Valley alone, Mr. Speaker, has the capacity to produce food and sugarcane without using fertilizer that shall build this country, Mr. Speaker. So these regional authorities, I accept, Mr. Speaker, must be reformed. They must be reformed in accordance to this bill, and we shall even add some more amendments so that it actually sets up the entire country in a manner that brings everybody on board, Mr. Speaker, including the county governments. Mr. Speaker, even the county governments need a role. The county assemblies of Kenya need a role, so that now, Mr. Speaker, we mark these particular regional authorities with what the county governors have always struggled to establish, what is called economic blocks. Mr. Speaker, there is now need to realign economic blocks together with particular this bill, so that we have entities that are economical, that are viable, that are able to generate revenues for our country, and even the auditing of these authorities, Mr. Speaker. Today we are dealing with a finance matter, and we realize there is some suckers in government, Mr. Speaker, who are actually receiving a lot of revenue, but they are not on the purview of the controller of budget, Mr. Speaker. And that is a recipe for corruption. That is revenue for cheap money, where people squander resources from Kenyans who have actually sweat to earn a living, Mr. Speaker. So this particular bill, Mr. Speaker, is the game changer in development of those areas that have always been prone to drought, those are prone to floods, those are prone to banditry, those areas that are also growing, those who are doing fishing, those who are doing sugarcane. We can be able to bring up the rest of the country to the level that we can say Kenya is a prosperous nation, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I support this bill with the necessary amendments, and we say let us have a unified country, and let us reduce the number of suckers that are non-profitable, that are consuming taxpayers' money, so that we reduce and become economical, and we'll be able to change our country, Mr. Speaker. With that, I rise to support, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Zamzam Chimba.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika, na mimi niweze kuunga mkono mswada ulioletwa leo bungeni kuhusu maendeleo ya idara ya mikoa. Mheshimiwa Spika, mengi yamezungumzwa, lakini mimi nataka kusema hivi. Licha ya kuwa tunataka maendeleo yaweze kuonekana katika mikoa yetu na katika idara ya mikoa, Mheshimiwa Spika, pia niweze kuelezea kuwa na nasikia wenzangu hapa wakizungumza mambo ya ukabila, mambo sijui ya nini. Serikali hii ilileta ugatuzi katika katiba yetu ili watu waweze kufaidi kutokana na rasilimali zao, Mheshimiwa Spika. Mheshimiwa Spika, hapa katika bunge hili tunashuhudia unafiki mkubwa sana, kwa sababu Mheshimiwa Spika, watu wengi ambao wako katika jamii ambazo ni ndogo ndogo, Mheshimiwa Spika, hawajaweza kufaidika kisawasawa kutokana na rasilimali zao, Mheshimiwa Spika. Na ndio maana mimi naweza kusema kuwa, Mheshimiwa Spika, licha ya kuwa tunataka kuweka watu ambao wamestawi, watu ambao wameimarika kuchukua idara kama hizi ili kuweza kusawazisha rasilimali na uchumi katika mikoa yetu, Mheshimiwa Spika, lakini tukiangalia hata juzi baada ya kura, Mheshimiwa Spika, Watu wamepewa idara nyingi sana, wale ambao walianguka kura, Mheshimiwa Spika. Na imekuwa idara hizi sasa hazina maana. Manake kila siku ni siasa zinapigwa katika maidara hizi, Mheshimiwa Spika. Hata ukienda kutafuta usaidizi, unaambiwa wewe ulikuwa chama fulani, hapa kuna chama fulani, hapa kuna hivi. Mheshimiwa Spika, wale walioanguka kura wajifunze kuja kurudi kutafuta wakati mwingine, Mheshimiwa Spika. Sio kuwa walimbikizwe kwa wananchi katika maidara ambapo unapata hata hujui kazi yao wanafanya nini, Mheshimiwa Spika. Na licha ya kuwa tunataka wale ambao wamebobea katika kufanya shughuli katika idara hizi, Mheshimiwa Spika, lakini pia tuheshimu gatuzi. Tukipewa pia watu ambao wanatoka sehemu zile, Mheshimiwa Spika, wanaelewa vizuri jiografia ya sehemu ile, wanaelewa vizuri cultures na tradition ya sehemu zile, wanaelewa vizuri matatizo ya wananchi wa pale, Mheshimiwa Spika. Na kwa hiyo tukipata watu ambao wametoka sehemu zile lakini ni wale ambao wamebobea, yani professionals, itatusaidia sana, Mheshimiwa Spika. Mheshimiwa Spika, nimesikia mbunge mmoja akisema tuache mambo ya ukabila na nini, na mimi nataka niseme hivi, Mheshimiwa Spika, tumeshuhudia ukabila mwingi sana wakati wa kura, wakati wa kutafuta kura. Na hii imeshuhudiwa katika nyanja zote, Mheshimiwa Spika. Isiwe katika maendeleo watu wakiuliza haki zao wanalemezwa na ukabila, Mheshimiwa Spika. Sisi watu wa Pwani tumefinywa sana. Na ukiangalia idara nyingi katika Pwani, Mheshimiwa Spika, hata pale port kazi zinaandikwa, ukiangalia msururu ule ulioandikwa kazi, watoto wetu hawamo, Mheshimiwa Spika. Na ndio maana utaona mbunge kama huyu ndugu yangu Owen Baya ana ule uchungu ambao wa Pwani tunasikia. Tunasema hivi, hatutetei ukabila, lakini tunasema mtu mcheza kwao na mtu akiwa kwao upate kile cha kwao. Mheshimiwa Spika, sisi tukiomba kama wapwani tumefinywa sana, rasilimali zetu zinaenda sehemu zingine. Na mimi nataka kusema kwetu tumekaribisha kila mtu, hatukatai, Mheshimiwa Spika. Lakini idara hizi pia ambazo tumewapa mamlaka watu kutoka sehemu zingine za Kenya, ni haki wao kufanya kule kazi, lakini wasitufinye ikawa tunaona majina yanatoka kwingine wanaofaidi ni wa sehemu ambazo zinafaidi sana, na sisi wapwani tunabaki nyuma, Mheshimiwa Spika. Na ndio maana wengi wamemtafsiri vibaya ndugu yangu Owen Baya, ni ile uchungu anayojua sisi wa Pwani tunafuatia, Mheshimiwa Spika. Sisi tunataka mtu akipewa idara katika pengine kule port, angalie watoto wa Kipwani. Ndio hapa hii 70% inavyosemwa na constitution, mimi naiangalia, ama nitaenda kuchukua kina mwafulani kutoka kwetu nyumbani ndio waje wapewe kazi pale, Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwa mfano mdogo, Mheshimiwa Spika, chakula sisi kama wabunge wa Pwani tuliweza kuapply kule katika asal chakula cha kupatia wale watu wetu ambao wana njaa. Mheshimiwa Spika, inatamautisha hata wale viongozi wa dini, mashehe wetu wamekwenda kuulizia, kwa sababu ni haki yao toka kila mwaka, na wanajua wale wanyonge katika jamii wanaweza kupewa hichi chakula, Mheshimiwa Spika. Walivyokwenda katika idara fulani, Mheshimiwa Spika, kwenda kuuliza, wakaambiwa hichi chakula kitapewa mtu fulani ambaye ni wa chama fulani ndio ambaye atakisambaza kaunti nzima. Mheshimiwa Spika, rasilimali zetu zisifanyiwe siasa. Hii ndio maana unaona hata ndugu yangu Owen Baya amekuwa mkali, kwa sababu mambo mengi yanafanywa kufinya watu wengine, Mheshimiwa Spika. Kama sisi sote tunafuata sheria ya Kenya katika mambo ya idara ya mikoa, basi tuangalie kuwa kila mmoja, kila Mkenya anapata haki yake kulingana na katiba, Mheshimiwa Spika. Haiwezekani chakula kwa mfano kimetoka kule katika idara ya asal, kikija Mombasa unaambiwa nyinyi mashekha mwezi kuchukua chakula, kitachukuliwa na mbunge fulani ndio ambaye atasambaza kaunti nzima. Chakula hicho si cha kufanyiwa siasa, Mheshimiwa Spika. Na mimi leo napinga hapa vikali nikisema, wabunge wenzangu, tuangalie, ukishachaguliwa katika kiti, usianze kufinya wananchi. Una vitu vingi ambavyo uweza kuwafanyia wananchi, lakini mambo ambayo yanahusiana na taifa nzima, yanahusiana na kila Mkenya, wewe lazima uangalie kuwa yule mwenye idara amepewa mamlaka ya kuangalia kila mmoja bila kuangalia chama, kabila na rangi, Mheshimiwa Spika. Na ndio maana leo sisi kama wapwani tunasema tumefinyika sana. Sisi idara nyingi watoto wetu wamesoma, wamesoma Mheshimiwa Spika, hatuwaoni kule sehemu zingine wala hatuwaoni nyumbani. Ikiwa kama mgao wa idara tofauti tofauti unatokea mambo ya kikazi, professionalism, Mheshimiwa, na sisi pia tuna watoto wetu wamesoma. Kama watapelekwa kwa majani chai tuwaone wako kule, tutashukuru. Wale wakija kwetu tutapokea. Lakini sio kule kwao wanachukua kila kitu na kwetu pia wanabwakura kila kitu. Mheshimiwa Spika, huo ndio uchungu ambayo umeona ndugu yangu Owen Baya akisema, na sisi tunasema wengi wape, usipowapa watajichukulia. Mheshimiwa Spika, itafika wakati sisi tutaanza kubisha kila mlango, tuangalie na statistics na data zinaonyesha vipi. Ikiwa mpwani katika idara fulani ambayo iko nyumbani ameachwa nyuma, basi itabidi na sisi pia lazima tuingilie kati, tuangalie tunarekebisha vipi. Mheshimiwa Spika, licha hayo yote Mheshimiwa Spika, hii bill ni nzuri sana, itaweza kuleta maendeleo mazuri, licha ya kuwa tunajua counties wanafanya kazi zao na hawa ambao ni regional wenye idara kutoka kila mikoa wana kazi zao. Sisi tunawapa nguvu, isipokuwa Mheshimiwa Spika, wengine hujazana kwenye maofisi, hujui wanafanya kazi gani. Na sisi tunataka kusema hivi, uchumi uko mbaya. Hii mishahara ya kudondoa kila mahali kupatia watu wengi ambao hatuoni kazi yao, Mheshimiwa Spika, hiyo ndio tunasema ipunguzwe idadi. Tupate mtu ambaye aweza kufanya kazi kwa ustadi, mtu ambaye anaeleweka vizuri na uweledi wa kufanya kazi, awezi kufanya hata kama ni watu 6 badala ya 11 Mheshimiwa Spika, ama 7 kama ilivyokuwa zamani. Pia Mheshimiwa Spika, sisi tutashukuru sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Kama mama Mombasa naunga mswada huu, ila nasema urekebishwe uweza kugusa kila jamii ya taifa hili, na ugatuzi pia uheshimike ndani ya mamlaka haya. Watu waangalie kuwa wenye mji, wenye mtaa, wenye nchi pia wanapata vipi haki zao Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwa hiyo naunga. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika.
Asante sana. Kwa mara ya kwanza nimepata jambo ambalo limewaunganisha wewe na Owen Baya. Next to speak on this is the Honorable Rikiri Mugambi.
I want to thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. Indeed, this is a key bill in this House. Mr. Speaker, the regional development authorities have a history. But Mr. Speaker, times are changing. The way we used to see regional development is no longer valid because there are so many things that have changed. Mr. Speaker, time has come to review the operations of this regional development. Mr. Speaker, some of these regional development authorities were formed because of what was being seen as marginalization of certain areas of this country. Mr. Speaker, there are some counties or regions then which were not endowed economically. Mr. Speaker, there was need to uplift the standard of the economies of these regions, hence the creation of regional development authorities. Mr. Speaker, in terms of marginalization, there are some sections of this country which were never covered by these regional development authorities. Mr. Speaker, others were merged together. For example, the Lake Basin Development Authority. You find it is covering a very wide area of Western Kenya and Nyanza. Mr. Speaker, these organizations at one point lost focus on what they intended to do. Mr. Speaker, time has come to review what is called the marginalization criteria in this country. Mr. Speaker, there is a regional authority called Ewaso Nyilo North, which belongs, is centered somewhere in Isiolo. Mr. Speaker, I border Laikipia and I border Isiolo. Mr. Speaker, I share the same geographical conditions, climatic conditions, yet this regional development has no attention of the neighbors where I belong. That's Bori constituency. Mr. Speaker, the climate change has occurred. There are areas that were being seen to be so dry areas, as our areas. We have some other parts of central Kenya and eastern Kenya which need now to be also managed and given the benefit of regional development authorities. Mr. Speaker, there is now need to bring focus into the mandate of these regional development authorities. Mr. Speaker, many of them focused on water. Many of them focused on irrigation. Many of them focused on limited activities in as far as education is concerned, and even security. Mr. Speaker, we need to review the mandate of some of these regional development authorities because of the new constitution. The counties have assumed some of the responsibilities that these regional authorities are performing. The national government is still focusing on ensuring there is even distribution of resources in this country. And that is why I am really a student of the better plan, the bottom economic transformation agenda. Mr. Speaker, these regional development authorities must be aligned to the better plan. And this is the bill that is showing sign that we need to rearrange that. Mr. Speaker, we need to install professionalism in running of affairs of our authorities in this country. I agree with all the members of parliament who have said what we need in all these authorities and organizations in this country is professionalism. It doesn't matter where you come from. Mr. Speaker, if Amero can go and save Coast Province, that's what the Deputy Majority Leader need to embrace. It's not saying that somebody from Coast is being marginalized. How long are they going to climb marginalization? For 60 years they are climbing marginalization. We cannot cause depression to one region forever. No, we must learn to speak the truth. There is a lot of money which has been pumped in the Coast and Northeastern. And it is common sense. So we can't be claiming marginalization 60 years down the line. That is the long concept. Every Kenyan has a right. Every Kenyan has an opportunity to do what is supposed to be done. Mr. Speaker, there is no point of wonder when you speak the truth. And when the truth is known, we give
What's
the...
your point of order, Honorable Owen Baya? Let's listen to Honorable
You know, Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Ndikiri, in spite of his gray hair, lacks facts in what he's saying. It is factual that the Coast region has been underserved for many years, for the 60 years that he's talking about. It is factual that the most poor regions in this country are in the Coast. Coast Development Authority was set up by the late Karisa Maitha in this parliament to mitigate against underserving the populace in the coast. And therefore, Coast Development Authority was set just for that purpose, to mitigate underdevelopment. So the Honorable Ndikiri needs to look at facts. Facts are in the standing orders. It is factual that underdevelopment has been there for the last 60 years. So stick to facts.
Very well, Leader.
Coast has been underserved. So do not paint a picture which does not exist. It is facts. This parliament believes in facts and corrective.
Honorable Baya.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. You know, as I said, you cannot deny the truth. And there is no fact in according to you. Let's not play politics on this. We are dealing with a very serious matter.
In fact,
members.
Before you proceed, Honorable Baya should have actually produced the facts.
Yes,
but
correct.
Meanwhile, proceed.
Let him tell the fact because, you know, a kid cannot continue crying forever. No, we must be serious. We must live what we are preaching. Baya is part of the better program of this country. And he cannot play a game negativity. No, that is wrong. And he has been advised by senior counsel, my brother Amolo. If you can't take the advice of anybody else, please take the advice of senior counsel Amolo. He has gray hair like me, and that's where you draw wisdom. Mr. Speaker, there's a lot of spending of money with these organizations. And Mr. Speaker, where the we are appropriating money to the national, regional organizations, then we must have a national outlook. Mr. Speaker, time has come. We either say these are regional organizations, authorities, that are funded by the Exchequer, appropriation through National Assembly, all we transfer their functions to the counties. And therefore, we also increase the funding of the counties so that they can perform the same functions. Mr. Speaker, it is very important for this country to go back again. We must review, because there are some counties which are not covered by this properly by these organizations. The Tana and Athi River, they cover very limited areas of Meru County, where I come from, and it's specifically Bode constituency. It is not under any of these authorities. Yet I share the same geographical conditions with Laikipia and Isiolo. Meaning, as we push through these authorities, we must ensure all the areas that have similar climatical and weather conditions, they are lumped up together. And therefore, I'll ask the drafters and the proposers of this bill, we must now reorganize and see the areas of coverage. Because if you don't do that, we will only be discriminating against the traditional known counties. Mr. Speaker, I join the other members and say time has come for us not to start going backward, but move forward. I therefore support this bill.
The Honorable Jackson Kosgei.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. From the onset, I want to support the Regional Development Authority bill. It has been said, Mr. Speaker, that purpose dictates priority. The regional development authorities were created and tasked with a unique mandate in the progression and development of our country in trying to fulfill the agenda of developing Kenya in a uniform way. About 40 years ago, the regimes that followed, there was some concern. Some regions have not been developed, and it looked like the development agenda of 1965 would not meet it and would not help them. So these regional bodies and authorities were created to mitigate on this, like one of our colleague mentioned a while ago. Mr. Speaker, they were mandated to initiate, to implement, an integrated multipurpose programs and projects for a sustainable utilization of resources found in regional areas of our country. Mr. Speaker, it has served to a certain extent, and I think with the advent of the implementation of our Constitution through the two-tier system of government, which has now improved the very intention that was developed at that time, there is need to reform these bodies in order to meet the same demands. We cannot, there is a saying from where I come from by elders, that you cannot take a shelter under a tree while it is sunshine, and when you get the overall shade, you cut it down. The only thing we can do to these authorities is to reform them. Let us reform them. Now, we want to understand the concerns by the majority leader, deputy majority leader, when he mentioned about the people from Coast. We really appreciate the participation by Coastalians from 1963. It has produced some of the best politicians in this country who have served this nation with distinction. They have produced technocrats and bureaucrats who have served this country. At one point, we had the head of public service coming from the coast. And really marginalization of coast, northern areas and other places is what we as a people of Kenya, discovered that the session of paper number 10 could not serve. So as we correct it, let us do it without putting the country into silos, but maintain nationalization of our projects. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, I join my colleagues by saying our reformation must address harmonization of these particular authorities with the concept that is rising in the economic blocks of our counties, because counties are spread along the same regions. We need also to align it with our constitution. And we do so with that appreciation, because these authorities, it was supposed to foster an integrated, sustainable economic development, and by empowering the communities that hosted it. It has to do so, as it were before, without looking like we are balkanizing the country. We must encourage nationalization of our focus in terms of developing our nation. With that, Mr. Speaker, I support this bill and congratulate the chair, Lord Chakabongo, for leading his committee and bringing this particular bill. I support, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
The Honorable Japheth Nyakundi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for also giving me this opportunity to say a word on this important bill. RDAs are very important entities that were started to act as devolved functions back then. But with the enactment of the 2010 Constitution, most of these RDAs have been rendered redundant because most of their functions have either been taken by the national government or the county government. So as a house, we have to look for the best way on how to make sure that these RDAs work optimally. A good example is the Lake Basin Authority, whereby the Lake Basin Authority gets about 200, 300 million per financial year. You find that this money goes into paying recurrent expenditure and personal emolument. So the employees who work there, they do not have work to do. You find them the whole year, they are just seated in the offices doing nothing. We need to look for a way that these RDAs, either they be amalgamated or this Honorable House decides and we put enough money and resources to these RDAs so that they can be able to work efficiently, because we cannot have employees in offices who are doing nothing. These employees are people who are qualified, who need to be on the ground doing work for Kenyans, not just in the offices, seated there doing a lot of nothing. So I propose and I support this bill that there has to be a way of making sure that the county governments and the national government cooperate with the RDAs. A good example, if we find out that most of these RDAs have done maybe bowls or have done markets, but maintaining, once they have done these markets or bowls, they go and these bowls, once they need maintenance, there is nobody to maintain them. We have to look for a way, once these boreholes have been done, they either be taken back to the national government, to the county government, so that the county government can be able to maintain them as days goes by. So I want to support this bill, and I also want to support, Honorable Speaker, the standardization of the board members. Having 9 board members is very, very important, because you find other RDAs that have 12 members, others have 7 members. We have to look for a way of making sure that these RDAs have a certain number of board members, which we've decided is 9. We also need to make sure that these RDAs are put under one act, because you'll find Ewasonyiro South has its own act, Ewasonyiro North has its own act, Lake Basin Authority has its own act. We need to, and I want to thank in this house so that we can be able to amend the. I also want to support Honorable Owen Baya partially. I also want to support Honorable Baya partially, though we have competent people in this country who can be deployed everywhere in this country. But I also want to support that the people from those regions are also supposed to be part of those, part of the board members of those RDS, because they understand the topography of those areas better than other people come in from other areas. So I want to support this bill fully, and thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity.
The Honorable Suzanne.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I would also want to add my voice to this very important bill on the issue of the regional development authorities, which in the 1980s and...
Order, Honorable Suzanne. Members, I'm a strict follower of the law, and I'm following the list very well. Suzanne is the one to speak on this now, and I'll continuously do so. So just key in the card, and I will do exactly that. Proceed, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I said the regional development authorities have played a very key role in transforming Kenya in the 1980s and the 90s. And that was before the pre-devolution period. But as we look, Honorable Speaker, on most of these authorities, with the changing context, where counties and national government have very clear outlined roles they have to play in facilitating development in this area, I find it very difficult to explain some of the roles of some of these development authorities. Because some of the development authorities, you even find that they are poorly resourced. The only budget they have is for salaries. Then most times I'm left wondering, are we paying people just to have them get salaries? Didn't these authorities have a clear mandate of what they should have? Like, for example, I'm having in mind very key authorities like the Tada and the Tana River, which have a very big mandate, especially when we observe, Honorable Speaker, that they operate in most marginal areas. But when you look at the budgets, most of them do not have budgets except recurring expenditure. Is there any need to give authorities that have outgrown their usefulness? I am of the view that some of these authorities need to be closed down if we can't fund them. Because I think when we have structures of governance and the management, it is basically not to give people salaries, but it should be aimed as meeting a purpose that will actually drive this country to a higher level. But when we have authorities that have just been reduced to bodies to give salaries and the people to have sitting allowances, I think as a country, we are actually missing a point on that. Nevertheless, I've heard the argument that these regional authorities sometimes they lack the expertise because people want them to have people from their own area. While we appreciate board members in these regional authorities from local area, I think we will be very retrogressive if as Kenyans we start looking at ourselves in very localized very localized village-like thinking. No wonder our politics are also going in that direction, because nowadays you listen to arguments, and most of these arguments resort into very tribal village argument. And I think that sometimes is very demeaning for a national assembly that is supposed to drive the country to the next level. I'm of the opinion that if these bodies need to have representatives from the local area to give some context. But what we need most is the expertise that would actually drive these bodies to a higher level and will enable us to achieve the set objective. Honorable Speaker, while I thank the Member of Parliament for this particular important motion, I think the bill also needs quite a number of amendments, because I don't see the meaning of having bodies to take away the work of the county government. Why should we give county governments less money because we are trying to divide the money to give to authorities? We are bringing co-wife business in developing Kenya, where you think that because you have 2 wives, you have to give this wife 20,000 and the other one 20,000, without looking at what is the purpose of the marriage. Because I think if these were bodies aimed at transforming Kenya, then we should look at their capacity to transform Kenya.
Order, member.
Honorable Speaker.
There's a point of order. Let's see Elisha Chieng.
No, it is. Come down. Mr. Speaker, I'm amazed that the honorable member can make inference on a very serious debate touching on development to compare it to a wife and a husband, to spouses in distributing resources. I think honorable member must use relevant examples that are comparative, because we are talking about development. We are not talking about families. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well, you've been heard. Honorable Suzanne.
Honorable Speaker, with all due respect to the honorable member, I think that is his own opinion, which is entitled to. As everybody speaks, uses his own imaginations, his own experiences, and the only way I can explain a situation, when you have a mandate to deliver, you focus on the mandate. Structures are only useful if they are enabling you to deliver the mandate in a most efficient and effective way. And all what I'm saying, as a country, we cannot be dividing money as you would cut 2 wives. We must put our money to structures that deliver what we want. And in this particular concern, I think counties where the work of any authority falls in the county, I think that authority becomes obsolete. Because we cannot have counties who have the capacity to deliver that, and then we continue funding other agencies that are not adding value. My honorable Speaker, I think sometimes as legislators we are very polite. But I think when it comes to economic development, I think we need to critically look at the issues and actually support where change can actually come in this particular country. While I support this bill, I support with amendments. We cannot make our regional bodies be of regional villagers. I have nothing wrong with villagers, but I think we need to have the expertise required, and if we do that, we would actually take this country to another level. And I'm of the opinion, actually, almost a half of these regional bodies are absolute. When you have Tanadhi and then you have Aditina, and you have almost even regional bodies that are duplicating their own service, in addition to a county that has a function of delivering water. Sincerely, Honorable Speaker, I don't think that is fair to this particular country, and I think we should look at our structures and have structures that can actually deliver the mandate that our Constitution has given us. Otherwise, thank you. I support with amendments.
Very well. I think the Honorable Peter, this is your bill, so you can't speak on this. The Honorable Meli is not in the House. So the Honorable Jane Kiara should speak on this. What's your point of order, Leader, before we have Jane Kiara speak on this?
You know, Honorable Speaker, I was listening to the Honorable Suzanne. You know, I like her.
She's already down.
Yes,
order,
yes. But I just like
order,
to,
order,
you know,
order.
I was wondering.
Order, Leader. Earlier on, order, Leader. Earlier on, you rose from your place when the substantive speaker was here and spoke about the procedures of this House. And that's what you must respect. Honorable Kiara, proceed.
Honorable Speaker, thank you very much for this time. I think you'll speak when your time comes. I've really been sitting here. I am going to be very short, Mr. Speaker, in supporting this bill because it's an important bill. And if us members knew how important this bill is, we would support it because this is where we'll be running. The way you run to ministries to look for projects, you'll be running to this authority. However, Mr. Speaker, I agree most of it is to realign it with the Constitution, streamlining those mini laws so that it's well structured and it will be easier to oversight the authorities. These authorities are important in some places or in some cases. But Mr. Speaker, there has to be a way of oversighting or policing them. And why I say this, in my first term in Parliament, there was a project, a dam project that was supposed to be sunk in Longonot. Mr. Speaker, I know money was paid, but there was nothing, not even a drop of water that was found in Longonot. They didn't even come, but in the paper, there was a project of a dam that was done in Longonot. As opposed to what is being said on regionalism, my concern would be if there's a project in my constituency, there should be public participation. Because like that dam, if they called the members around there for public participation, they would have told them there is no water that can be found here. Even if you dug how deep, it will never come because there is no stream, there was nothing. So actually that project was just to consume money. So there has to be a way of public participation. Mr. Speaker, most of the monies to these development authorities, we know it comes from donors. But how is this money policed? How do we know who has brought in money and where the projects are going? I know most of the functions also are cut across the counties, just like it has been said. Mr. Speaker, I may not be able to say that that money should go or this project should go to counties because even the counties are not able to know exactly what happens or how they choose their projects. So really, let it be at national level, let it be policed, so that there has to be in the regulations a way, Mr. Speaker, how it should be policed. We know it has been like, apparently in our region, we are supposed to be in the Iwasonyiro South Development Authority, which has its office I think in Narok. Mr. Speaker, we have not seen anything, even in the larger Naivasha where I was representing, I've never seen a project by Iwasonyiro South Authority. Reducing board members, that's fine. We are trying to reduce spending, Mr. Speaker. But as opposed to say that the membership of boards must be regional, I think we need experts. If you have a dam where you need engineers, the engineer, we have said in the Constitution, and it is what we believe in, that is a Kenyan must be allowed to work in every corner of this country. I think that should be there should not be a reason to deny somebody chances. Mr. Speaker, there need to be a lot of reforms, because I would not call for disbandment of the authority, but I would say it needs a lot of reforms so that it serves Kenyans and also gives us a chance to know exactly what is happening where, what money has come from where, because it's just so amorphous. We know there is an authority somewhere, and there is an executive officer, there is a board, and then that. What is it that these authorities are doing? So as we support, because I'm supporting, I'm saying I think a lot needs to be done so that it is vibrant, and we know, the way we know the Minister of Education, what they are doing, can we know what this authority is doing in Kenya? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Ochanda.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the bill is attempting to do one of the things that actually is not declaring, trying to sanitize the regional authorities. In my view, these regional authorities, they could be having roles. They could be important. But where we are in this time and space, their time is gone. All the things that they've been listed to be doing have been listed to other authorities. And for sure, the constitution of this country knows only two authorities. Either you are a county authority or you are a national authority. There's nowhere else where another authority is recognized in the constitution. So we must recognize that as this parliament, that we must place the regional authorities where they belong. And they don't belong into where they are somewhere between counties and national governments. That is not right. Mr. Speaker, I think the best that we can do with the regional authorities is not to sanitize them in this arrangement, is to place them where we now have what we call county economic blocks. County economic blocks. They can be very well be secretariats of county economic blocks. You go to the lake area, instead of having Lake Basin Development Authority, all the way covering from Mount Elgon to, let's say, to Bomet, we get a secretariat of those county blocks to be in charge of things that cut across those counties, because the commonalities and those things that appear to be region-specific. That will be much more useful than having an authority, which in first place we are saying is illegal. In the next level is duplicating. It's duplicating in the sense that all that they do, what should a regional authority do in beekeeping? You go to Rift Valley Career Development Authority, one of the things that they do is to keep bees. You go to Lake Basin, one of the things they do is to keep bees. Why bees? Why should a local authority, this kind of regional authority, do that? You go to the Lake Basin, they are keeping fish. And where is fish in the Constitution? Where are bees in the Constitution? So in my view, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Chanda, let's hear this point of order from the Honorable Undo.
You know, he's my neighbor, presumptive. So I'm just wondering what's the problem with the fish? I mean, Lake Victoria, developments in Lake Victoria, and fish, that's the area. So I don't know what's out of order about them keeping fish and bees. In any case, bees bring honey, and honey is sweet. You don't like sweet things, Dr. Chanda.
Very well, Honorable Chanda. You may proceed, but make a comment on that.
No, my neighbor is right, and this is exactly what I was indicating. Fish spreads all the way from Busia to Migori. So if you want an authority that is supposed to handle all these economic issues that touch across our counties, the best authorities to do that are these things that we call regional authorities. In my view, we need to restructure them. Rather than having them as independent entities, which are legally not recognized anywhere properly, then we recommend them to the regional county economic blocks, where they can do these roles that cut across counties. You know, as at now, counties have very big problems in doing things that cut across themselves. There's a big problem in terms of how Busia and Siaya, who are neighbors, are supposed to relate. Those things are there in law, but they have difficulties in implementing these things. So those areas where counties have difficulties in implementing services or activities or resources that are supposed to be cutting across the regions, these should be the authorities, in my view, that should be taking care of that kind of an arrangement, Mr. Speaker. If we go that route, then there's need, and we can see that regional authorities can have something to do. But if we go the route that we are trying to go in terms of merging them together, giving them roles that are already given to other authorities, and placing resources on them, the same resources are required with the other authorities, then, Mr. Speaker, we are not doing the right thing. And we really need to relook at this and think again. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. The Honorable Ibrahim Sane.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Quite often than not, we always take pride in being under the tutelage of a very pragmatic and progressive constitution, 2010. This bill, in a big way, I feel contradicts the spirit and the principles of the same constitution. I rightly agree with my predecessor in contributing to what really is regional. We only have two regional entities, and that is the national level, the national tier, and the county tier. We have 47 county governments, and these should be the bodies that should steer our country towards economic and other developmental frontiers. Mr. Speaker, having perused through this bill, inasmuch as it was once novel and Attica, when our constitution was the old one, and regional bodies were the best of bodies to trigger development, it is true that that has been really overtaken by the 2010 constitution, and what we can see in it is an overlap of mandate and roles. The role these regional entities are trying to do is what our county government are supposed to do. And I feel it is only fair to give governors what is due to them. We can't always start a conflict with our governors. Whether they perform their duties or not is another thing altogether. But what is due to them should be theirs, and money should follow, and this role should be cascaded to our devolved units, Mr. Speaker. If you look at one of the roles of my authority, regional authority, you will see quite a big overlap in mandate, conservation and preservation of natural resource issues, database management, and many others. That is also to the national government in some way. So soon we are going towards conflict of laws. We are trying to legislate so much to the extent we will be in a spot where our laws shall be at conflict with time. One other issue is their boards. We are talking of a leaner government so that we can at least save money and resources so that our economy can at least recover. I saw in the proposal a board of directors of over 13 or nearly 13. That is too big for decision making. It will be a good area for conflicts in managing the same organizations, and I believe they would have had a better, leaner boards, Mr. Speaker. One other issue, the nomenclature. What is a river authority? Where does it start and where does it end? When you take of Tanadi, these go into the coast, and then the Coastal Development Authority picks up. Then you will ask yourself, how do they come up in naming these zones? I belong to Ewasonyiro North Development Authority. Ewasonyiro has no impact at all in my constituency. I would have rather been categorized or named otherwise. It has no relevance. Look at Mount Kenya. Mount Kenya is the source of all rivers, which go into the Indian Ocean. They flow, traverse the entire nation, and I have not seen Mount Kenya Development Authority. Whereas Nairobi in itself is the city. So developmentally, there is an ambiguity. What is a developmental authority, and where does it encompass? Where is the limit? Where does it start, and where is it ending? Without much ado, I would be frank to say I entirely oppose this bill, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
The Honorable Millie Odhiambo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I wish to indicate that I support with amendments. And Mr. Speaker, the reason I wish to support is because this bill seeks to consolidate the authorities into one bill. And Mr. Speaker, what I was wishing the sponsor would have done and the drafters would have done would have been to also give it some legislative elegance, because I see a lot of repetition, that you find the same roles that are given the various authorities are almost cut and paste. So there is really no reason in a digitized world and in a progressive world why we should go that way in terms of doing this bill. So I'll be proposing amendments that will be making it leaner and thinner. But going more into substantive issues, Mr. Speaker, I am very happy with the principles that are enshrined within this bill. Some of them include sustainable use of resources. As a person who is committed to environmental conservation, I think the issue of sustainable use of resources is very important. And if you look at, for instance, the way some of us are using our resources, it's a challenge. It's unfortunate that there's a bill that came up on natural resources that has failed, but I think that's one of the things that we need to look at. For example, Mr. Speaker, I'd give you an example. There's a lot of construction that is going on in our counties for roads. If you see, there are small hills that are generating what is needed for the roads. And very soon there will be no hills in those areas. That is part of actually what is affecting climate change. And so when we are dealing with issues that talk about sustainable use of resources, it's significant and important for me. Secondly, the issue of promotion of equity in the management of natural resources to ensure equitable access for present and future generations. Mr. Speaker, as a person who is committed to protecting the rights of children, I am very keen on the use of access for present and future generations when we are dealing with the resources. And so when this is provided as a value, it's important. The only challenge is that when we are implementing, we forget this. Mr. Speaker, I'd hoped for a bolder approach that also streamlines the roles, as I indicated, but also that also ensures that we don't have duplication, both with the counties, national government, and with these authorities. Mr. Speaker, a lot of members have spoken to it, but one of the things I've learned, having been in this parliament for a long time, is that when we have multiple bodies doing the same thing, they actually, one of them or all of them, become cash cows. And that is why even when parliament tries to streamline, you get a lot of resistance, because you will be killing somebody's way of earning money. But I wish we were bolder as a house and sometimes just take the bull by the horns and kill some of these authorities and give the counties greater mandates. But because I know we are not bold as a house, I will propose amendments that will allow the ones who want to steal, because I'm not EACC. When the EACC wakes up and decides they want to do their job, they will follow and ensure that these people do their works and streamline. Mr. Speaker, one of the other things I'd hope to see is a deliberate attempt to establishing a formula for sharing resources within the regions, so that even when you find that one of the authorities is working within the region and has different regions, how do you ensure that within that region there is equity? I support the inclusion of gender, youth, marginalized community in the management units of the bodies. And I want to somehow agree with Honorable Bayer, and at the same time also agree with the member that that he was raising a point of order for, that yes, we must remember marginalized communities. Coming from a marginalized community myself, Mr. Speaker, I speak to it. I know a lot of people don't consider the law community a marginalized community because of our resilience. We are strong, we work hard, we fight hard, and we do not appear as marginalized. But over the years, the Luo community has been marginalized by economic policies due to the nature of our politics as opposition. And it is interesting, you hear a lot of people keep telling us, join the government, yet the same people tell you, we need strong opposition. So Kenya must also make up its mind what they want. That you either choose people who can do good work, so that you don't need an opposition. But if you choose people who are not doing good job, then don't start screaming you want a good opposition. But having said that, I'd also want to say that there are actually regions that have also benefited from resources because of marginalization. And I think as a country, we must also look at how far different regions have benefited and whether we are all at the same state. You might find an area that was once upon a time or 20 years ago marginalized. It's no longer marginalized. My area is, of course, definitely still marginalized. And then I also speak for the Suba, who is a much smaller community within my constituency that may suffer further marginalization. And on that note, I want to encourage the government that when you are dealing with marginalized community like ours, don't make promises that you don't realize very fast. Like, for instance, more recently, the government made a promise to tarmac the Rusinga Ring Road. And for those of us who are very marginalized, we are really waiting with a lot of interest to ensure this is done. But going back to these regional authorities, Mr. Speaker, I'm just wishing again, and I want to agree with, I think it's Honorable Muragara that had talked the last time, that we needed a bold approach to fold up these bodies and give the money to counties, but with enhanced oversight roles so that we don't devolve corruption. And I want to reiterate that for me, that would actually be a better approach. Again, I don't know whether the Mwongozo is, that talks about the number of 8, but I'm seeing like these bodies are too many, the individuals that are proposed in these bodies are too many, and perhaps we need to streamline, especially of the local communities. I don't understand what you have a whole number of 8 that are coming in. But even within this number of 8, you need to, again, re-emphasize the issue of inclusion. Mr. Speaker, I would also want to say that one of the things that I've noticed, that this bill speaks a lot about the issue of natural resources. And I've said that it is indeed unfortunate that the bill that was talking about natural resource, and especially sharing, died at, I think, second reading. But this bill talks about natural resources without defining what natural resource is. So I don't know what exactly we are talking about in this bill, because we must ensure that we define what that natural resource is. Mr. Speaker, I'm also wishing that we could bring amendments, and I'll try that we ensure that these bodies, because we are not bold enough to just send them home, undertake programs and projects on climate change adaptation. Because since they're doing programs that have to do with those areas, and these are things that we're talking about as a country, but we don't seem to realize that, for instance, in this country in the last few days, the weather has been extremely hot, which is not very typical. And it's not here. I was in South Africa 2 months ago, and there was a heat wave. And we're actually suffering the effect of climate change. And the only things we want to act on is where we see money, like where there's a low-hanging fruits that we can deal with at individual levels, at leadership levels, at community levels, to ensure that we deal with these issues. Mr. Speaker, I want to complete because I see that my time is up. Mr. Speaker, I don't know if you can just give me 1 minute to conclude.
No, the interests are overwhelming.
It's okay then. With those few remarks, I support with proposed amendments.
The Honorable Julius Meli.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise to support this bill. As said by my earlier speaker, Honorable Mili, I would also wish that I'll also propose some amendments. Honorable Speaker, this bill is quite good, but I would like, first of all, to tell members that there is a history behind development authorities. Development authorities worldwide were fashionable to address certain geographical problems and climatical issues affecting certain regions within a particular nation. And they were very successful in many parts of the world. For those of you who were in school earlier on with a different syllabus, we had the Tennessee Development Authority, we have the Yellow River in China, and many others across the world. The Rwandese have also a very small development authority also, which is actually designed by governments to make sure that certain regions, certain bodies are actually formed to address certain problems peculiar to a particular region. So I want to thank the chair and the committee, first of all, for actually bringing all the development authorities under one law. Previously, we had different laws for different authorities. Right now, we are going to have it under one piece, and it will actually be very easy for us to try to bring them to order. When you look at the Lake Basin, where my county Nandi covers, Kisumu, Busia, and all those other areas, the thing that Lake Basin Development Authority is to try to answer or to address problems or issues that are within the lake region. However, you'll realize that over the years, some of these development authorities have failed to address their core mandate or why they were formed. In instances where many of them have went ahead and began to build buildings in towns, which is not their core mandate. If you go to Kerio Valley Development Authority, they have a huge building in Eldoret. The Lake Basin, the same in Kisumu. Theirs was supposed to address agricultural issues, cotton in the Lake Basin, address the issue of sorghum along the Kerio Valley, address the issue of cattle, camel, along the Ewaso Nyiro two rivers development authorities, address the issues of range farming, or actually range development, where you can keep livestock in some of the areas. It has come to the notice of this committee that most of the regional bodies were actually designed to address certain specific issues that were peculiar to the areas of operation. However, because of mismanagement by previous boards, by previous institutions, by previous CEOs, you'll realize that many members here tend to believe that these regional bodies are not necessary. Not true. It is upon this House to make sure that we sit down, develop a very clear mandate the way the committee has done, has specific roles played. Come, for example, to the Kerio Valley and the Lake Basin and all these others. One of their mandates was to make sure that farmers along their belt or their region, if you look at the Lake Basin, they were supposed to make sure that they drill boreholes for households, for schools, for institutions, to make sure that waterborne diseases are actually eradicated. They were even supposed to teach field services on proper farming, cotton farming, so that this country can be self-reliant in textile. It can create jobs. It can move ahead and make sure that under those particular regions, like the Kerio Valley, sorghum, millet farming along the Kerio Valley, building of schools, making sure that we have enough dams for irrigation, so that we stop the menace of cattle rustling, which is going on up to today. If those authorities were very effective, Mr. Speaker, the issue of cattle rustling would be a thing of the past. Now you realize that they have invested huge resources in buildings in town, which in the first place they were supposed to have used the resources for water, the dams that they have constructed. Take all the people who are engaged in cattle rustling, for example, go into wheat farming, not wheat farming, sorghum farming, millet farming, maize farming, fruit farming. If you look at the Kerio Valley itself, it is so much rich in fruits. If we can go ahead and develop those ones, it will discourage the young men from going into raids. Now you realize that these authorities are actually not doing that. That is why we are proposing that we need to really propose and make sure that it is illegal for these bodies to engage in activities that are not part of their mandate. Come, for example, to the coast development authorities. We have huge potential for livestock farming across the several counties in the Coast region. Have the Tana River, we have the Taita Taveta, and most of the region in that particular area, even along the Wasonyiro area. If these people are encouraged to go into livestock farming, this country now can go back to be one of the top exporter of beef. One of the earlier speakers indicated that Botswana today is one of the leading exporters of meat, and they benchmark with this country. So we really need to ask each development authority to come out very clear on issues that they're supposed to do. On the issue of board leadership, Honorable Speaker, I want to differ with the previous speakers that we really need to have these authorities being micromanaged by the locals from their particular region. This is one country, this is one nation, this is one people. It is the expertise that we need to run in these authorities. It is not the people of those regions that are supposed to run them. You can have a very good expert, a very good manager from a coast region managing the Lake Victoria Basin. It is possible. And Honorable Speaker, it is unfortunate that the Deputy Leader Majority is trying to lead, to dismember the country by just trying to encourage people from one region to just be leading these particular bodies. I want to guide the Majority Leader that this is one country, one people.
Order, Honorable Meli. Speak through the
Thank
speaker.
you, thank you. Yes, well guided, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, why I'm speaking to that is that one of the reasons why these authorities failed, it became employment bureaus for people from their regions. To an extent that it was only for salary. It was not for the intended purpose of making sure that these regions serve Kenyans and do what they were created to do. Lastly, Honorable Speaker, the issue that is very, very good, and I think I want the House to really adopt, is to make sure that these regional bodies are well resourced. One of the problems that we have with the regional bodies across is that you give it a mandate, you give it functions, you give it a role, yet you don't resource it. It has no money. At most times, they don't perform their functions because this House, which appropriate resources to these bodies, at times give paltry resources, asking them to do what they cannot do. You are giving them a lot of functions. You are giving them a very good strategic plan. You are giving them a lot of set targets, but what can they do without resources? Lastly, Honorable Speaker, we also have the issue of development plans. I want to ask the committee that the country always have development plans every 5 years. I don't know why the committee thought it wise that regional bodies should have development plans or strategic plans for 10 years. We need each and every body to make sure that development plans or strategic plans are in tandem with the national plans. So you cannot have a regional development plan for 10 years and the national development plan is 5 years. Those are some of the proposals we want to bring across. I support with amendments. Thank you.
Honorable Peter Chakapong, the MP for Sigor, is not there. Honorable Yula, where is Honorable Yula? Give Honorable Yula the mic.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to also contribute to this important bill. Honorable Speaker, the regional authorities were established with a purpose. The main purpose was to develop the areas that they covered. However, the authorities were affected by corrupt practices that brought them down. Initially, Honorable Speaker, the authorities did a lot of work. Their work could be identified wherever you went. But corruption came in. With that, the authorities only remained with paying salaries. So there was almost no work. There's no activity that can be identified with the authority, apart from running to the treasury for additional funds to pay pending bills, some of which never existed. So, Honorable Speaker, this bill, which is now trying to harmonize the responsibilities of the authorities, need to be supported. The authorities should be allowed to come up together and identify the responsibilities they need to take. Each authority, together with the county governments within the authorities, should sit down and identify the relevant projects that will benefit the communities around those authorities. Without that, Honorable Speaker, the authorities will not come up with anything tangible for the people of the region. The regional authorities should be encouraged to work closely with the county governments. The regional authorities should take some of the jobs that can help the county governments within that region to work together for the development of the region. Honorable Speaker, I support this bill and ask that the committee concerned should look at the various areas that need harmonization. Should also look at the areas that need specific identification for the regional authorities, so that they are aware that within our area, these are the specific activities that we require, and those should be followed closely, and the people of the region should be able to benefit from those identified projects. For instance, cotton under Lake Basin Development Authority. That is something that Lake Basin Development Authority should have taken up and promoted, so that we would be having very many ginneries in the Lake Basin area. If that was done, I'm sure the people of the Lake Basin area would not be having no cash crops within the region. So, Honorable Speaker, as I support this, there are a few amendments that are required to benefit this bill so that the regional authorities can be able to identify the specific jobs they need to do, those jobs that will not conflict with those ones of the county governments. So with those few remarks, I support. Thank you.
Honorable Yula, Honorable Farah Yakub, MP for Fafi. He will be followed by the Honorable Dr. Lillian Gogo, MP for Angwe, on the instructions of the previous speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this time. I stand to add my voice and support the motion. The bill underlines the importance of RDA. It is meant to harmonize the scattered acts governing RDS to be one, to align the functions of RDS in the new constitution. The bill gives us formation of directors, the numbers in line with the Mongozo directive. The bill gives us the jurisdictions of each and every RDA, the areas they cover, because initially there was an overlapping areas of jurisdiction within the RDS. The bill gives us the functions and the cooperation between the RDS and the county governments. Having said that, Mr. Speaker, I happen to hear a lot of, most of the members of parliament supporting the bill, but many giving their dissatisfaction with the fact that RDS have overlived their time and their usefulness. I stand here, Mr. Speaker, to confirm the usefulness of the RDS. Mr. Speaker, sir, as one of the members who come from the marginalized areas, Fafi constituency and Garissa County, the only and the biggest dam that has been done in that county since independence was done by Coast Development Authority. And it costed a meager 240 million. And it was done 3 years ago while we had the county governments. The same can be said of Burra County, Burra constituency, which has also the same type of dam, 240 million Kenya shillings in our Gheg. Today, as we speak, after the El Nino, that dam is filled with a capacity of 300,000 cubic meters. Projections being 4 years from now, the catchment within that dam will have no water scarcity. Mr. Speaker, sir, the people of Mariakani have a goat milk processing plant. The Mamambuzi in Mariakani today reap the importance of that factory, courtesy of Coast Development Authority. Mr. Speaker, sir, Burra constituency, which hosts small-scale fruit farmers, largely mango, have for the first time gotten a fruit processing plant in Burra, courtesy of Coast Development Authority. Mr. Speaker, sir, one of the major vegetation cover in northern Kenya is acacia plant. This plant is seen as a useless plant. But one of the families of that acacia plant produces a gum called gum arabica, which is a very useful component of pharmaceutical ingredient. Ewasonyiro North Development Authority came up with a plan, constructed the only gum arabica producing factory in Wajir County. This is, if put into full capacity and proliferation, will harness $15 billion economy, an economy which is have been made use of by Sudan government. Mr. Speaker, sir, Ewasonyiro South Authority boasts the only functioning leather processing plant in the country, in Narok. So the usefulness of regional authorities can only be felt by those who actually, they touch their lives. I, being a member of the committee, and assenting to the fact that these authorities have been underfunded. I heard Honorable Susan saying that these RDS were given meager, paltry budget of recurrent. With that recurrent underfunding, they happen to source and do those marvelous jobs. While we have some sagas in the government who are overfunded, and yet their effects cannot be seen on the ground. Lake Basin Development Authority today can boast, Mr. Speaker, sir, the biggest mall in Kisumu, Lake Basin Mall. So the usefulness of RDS can be ascertained by each and every member of this parliament. Having said that, I want to support the motion and say that we support this motion and make sure that the RDS function and more resources to be allocated to them so that we can feel their effect. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
The gallant MP for Rangwe constituency, the Honorable Dr. Lillian Gogo.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. I rise to support this particular motion. But before I go ahead to do so, Honorable Speaker, I want it to go on record that the great people of Rangwe constituency, whom I, by dint of having been elected to this assembly, I represent, will never ever allow me to jump any queue of whatever matter. Honorable Speaker, Rangwe constituency has some of the finest brains in this country. There are people who are noble, and there are people who respect the rule of law. I was the first person to come to this assembly for this particular session this afternoon, Honorable Speaker. And by dint of having been called out to go and speak to Nia girls who was visiting with the assembly today, when I came back, I found the matter on, and with the new rules, I had to be relegated to speak at the tail end. Honorable Speaker, it is not fair to great people of Rangwe whom I represent. And Honorable Speaker, I have been seated here without even going to loosen myself for 5 good hours. It is not fair. But having said that, I want to make my contribution, Honorable Speaker, by saying that I rise to support this particular bill. It is a good bill, and it has come at a good time. And just the idea that there is need to merge the regional development authorities from the various regions, bring them under one law, and put them in line with the current constitution, I should think is a good idea, Honorable Speaker. And also, Honorable Speaker, there has been a proposal to standardize the operations of these regional development authorities, which is a good thing. And we want to have these regional development authorities, Honorable Speaker, be controlled not with the various laws that were controlling them, but they should be controlled under one law. And this is a good idea. So I want to appreciate the movers of this, the committee that has brought this particular bill. And many colleagues have spoken to it, so I don't want to repeat myself. But I want to say, Honorable Speaker, that there has not been any big conflict that has occurred between the regional development authorities and the county governments, Honorable Speaker, that would warrant us saying that we do not need to have these regional development authorities and that their work and their mandate should be given to the county government. If it may be as it may occur then, and there would be need to have their duty taken to the county government at whatever time this would be found appropriate by the country, I think it would be okay. But as for now, I stand here to support the existence of the various regional development authorities. Honorable Speaker, there is one of the members who had well articulated the history of these development authorities, the purposes for which they were formed, and I have seen that with time, the particular regional development authorities have forgotten. They have forgotten the very reason why they were mandated to exist by law. And Honorable Speaker, I want to specifically go to my constituency, Rangwe constituency in Homa Bay County, where we have one of the projects that has been, that has swallowed money over a period of 16 years that ought to have been run efficiently by one of the regional development authorities by name of the Lake Basin Development Authority. Honorable Speaker, I'm talking about Oluch Kimira project. This is one project, Honorable Speaker, that has swallowed more than, and I repeat, it has swallowed more than 7 billion Kenya shillings, Honorable Speaker, without a trace of changing the lives of Rangwe people in Kochia Ward and the better part of a bit of Kagan Ward. So if the regional development authorities cannot stick to their core mandate, even the basic function of hiring extension officers and offering extension services to improve agricultural activities in the regions for which they are mandated to operate. Such a simple task, if they are not able to do, then if one comes up with a bill or a motion to have them disbanded, then I will support it, Honorable Speaker. Oluch Kimira is an irrigation scheme, Honorable Speaker, in my own constituency, that if that money that was used to make the Lake Basin Mall would be put in Rangwe constituency, then we would apply the whole of Homa Bay County and the greater Nyanza with wood, and it would also economically empower Rangwe people. Honorable Speaker, it is important that they stick to their mandate as we seek to have them operate under one law and under one board. Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this is what I want to say. As it is, the issue is not incompetence. The issue is not getting or sourcing people to manage these authorities locally, the way the Honorable Bayer was saying. Honorable Speaker, even at the cost, I believe there are competent people who can run these organizations well. But the question is, Honorable Speaker, they will mismanage the organizations because they come from their locals, and then after that, the same Honorable Bayer will come here and say, these are my people, and they will be protected on that ground. And of course, this is the language of Kenyans, Honorable Speaker. This is what I want to say, Honorable Speaker, that we must continue. If I don't get out of the core business of discussing this matter, we must continue giving services to Kenyans in a manner that develops Kenya to another level. Whoever is given these bodies to run, they must have the spirit of developing Kenya to another level. They must have the commitment to create jobs for the youth, Honorable Speaker. They must have the commitment to make sure that women need to feed their children, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this is what I want to say from Rangwe constituency, that it is important that these regional development authorities are well resourced, as has been said earlier. We give people work, Honorable Speaker, and if there is any budgetary allocation that needs to be reduced, as it were right now, Honorable Speaker, we just went through the budget policy statement to project what we are going to require to manage the country. But if you find, when we go to the substantive budgetary allocations, you will find that the first place to have their budgets reduced will be these regional development authorities. We must give them teeth to bite by way of finances, Honorable Speaker. We must give them tools of work, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, as I finish, I can see that my time is over. But at the same time, I want to appreciate the Regional Development Authority, the Lake Basin Development Authority, for drilling at least 5 boreholes in the Rangwe constituency. Where credit is due, it should be given. But they need to do more. They need to do more. They need to work better. They need to work smart. And under the new law that has been made, I think we will get.
Thank you, Dr. Lillian Gogo. Honorable members, we go back to the statement on legislative proposals to amend the Constitution. Order 114.7a. We are going back. Remember the statements on the legislative proposals to amend the Constitution. Directions had been given that at exactly 6, we will revert to that particular business. So those who wanted to contribute on the earlier order can wait for the next time it will be scheduled. Now, this is like an adjournment motion. Once it is said from this time we go that way, your speaker does not have any power to review or rule. So do I assume everybody who is requesting to speak is seeking to speak to the statement on the proposed constitutional amendments? Honorable Makali, that is what you want to contribute on? The Honorable Dr. Makali Mulu.
Honorable Speaker, I wanted to contribute on the regional authorities bill. So you can give that chance to somebody else.
Yeah, the matter that was being debated before, over which most of you I can see have a lot of interest in, will be continuing next. In terms of the standing orders, a matter like this, when it is stayed, it is from 6, we go back to 6. In fact, I regret it because I noted so many of you wanted to speak to this matter, including the Honorable Martin Owino of Ndewa constituency, and of course the other honorable members. So could I know from the requests I have here, those of you who want to speak to the statement on the legislative proposal to amend the Constitution? This is the statement by the Honorable Bashir Sheikh MP and the Honorable Alice Nganga MP on proposals to amend the Constitution. One proposal is that absent the commissioners, the secretary of the commission can help with the conduct of elections. The other proposal, I think, seeks to save those which were called protected constituencies. So would I have those who are not contributing to this particular motion, or those who had not contributed, get out of the list and await the matter you are keen to contribute on the next time it is listed? The Honorable Geoffrey Ruku.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to support this amendment, the legislative proposal to amend the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya so as to amend the Constitution to protect 27 constituencies that were protected for the first delimitation of electoral units in spite of not meeting the population quota requirement of which the constituencies risk being merged with others when the Independent Electoral Boundary Commission conducts the second review. Mr. Speaker, one of the constituencies which is in this category is my constituency, Better North constituency. Mr. Speaker, if we are stricter of the law without discrimination, and the Constitution says clearly that Kenyans will not be discriminated by race, by religion, by whatever it is, by culture, by customs, that there shall be no discrimination to the Kenyans whatsoever. That is the right enshrined in our Constitution. The review or the census was done last in 2019. And it is true that from 2019 to now, Mr. Speaker, the population of the Republic of Kenya has changed. We are talking now about 50 million, over 50 million Kenyans. In 2019, we were talking about 47 million Kenyans. So the population of the Republic of Kenya has changed, and therefore the population of the constituencies, the 27 constituencies, they have changed. I support this legislative proposal to ensure or to give a leeway where these constituencies can get the required 164,000 population within a period of 8 to 12 years. That is what the legislative proposal by Honorable Aris Nganga says. If you look at the NADICO report, Mr. Speaker, NADICO report gives these constituencies a period of 20 years. That means the legislative proposal by Aris Nganga and the NADICO report, they read from the same script, Mr. Speaker. We are due, I think this month, this exercise should have taken place. But still we don't have a properly constituted IBC which can ensure this process of delineation of constituencies or electoral units has taken place. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, having that in mind, that we are therefore in a more or less a constitutional crisis. This House, Mr. Speaker, should have 290 members elected from each and every constituency. Our Constitution says that there shall be 290 constituencies. As it is at the moment, we are 289 members of parliament elected because we lost one of members from Mandera who has not been, and we have not been able to have an election in Mandera to ensure we have a member because the Electoral Commission or IBC is not properly constituted. Therefore, this proposal to amend the Constitution comes in to ensure that we give a leeway to constitute IBC in the most appropriate way, where all the signs of this House are in agreement, whether the minority or the majority are in agreement, and to that effect, as far as the NADICO report is concerned, already there is a bill proposed for the amendments to be put in front of this House to ensure the IBC Act is properly amended and aligned with the views of the both minority and majority side. This amendment proposal, Mr. Speaker, comes at the most appropriate time to ensure there are no Kenyans, whether in Mbeere North or in Mathioya or with any other constituency which is among these 27 constituencies, are not discriminated. Mr. Speaker, most of the constituencies in the Republic of Kenya are organized in customs and traditions, they are socialized in a particular way, and when we don't amend or we don't pass this legislative proposal to amend the Constitution, it means most of the constituencies will be fragmented. This may cause disunity in quite a number of regions in the Republic of Kenya. Because the way boundaries of these constituencies were done, they have history, depending either on the customs, on the traditions, the history of the people of that area, and they have been living like that for many years. So saying that we get some sections of these 27 constituencies to be merged with other constituencies, we are also, as a people, creating fertile grounds for anarchy and chaos in the country, something which we don't want, something which we will not envisage as people want to serve, to ensure that we have welfare of the people is well taken care of, and we have a just government of the people. Mr. Speaker, I therefore seriously and firmly support this legislative proposal, and I ask all the members of this August House to ensure that this legislative proposal passes so that we can avert such a crisis. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Dr. Otiende Amolo was a member of the committee of experts. We want to give him the chance to speak to this, to give us better directions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Even
Here,
as we
Dr.
proceed with the
Nyikal.
debate.
Dr. Nyikal seems to
The
have a point
Honorable
of
Dr.
order.
Nyikal,
But
kindly raise the point of order.
Yes.
After the most learned Honorable Otiende Amolo speaks.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
You may just address the issue you want to raise.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this proposal by Honorable Alice Nganga is an important proposal. It looks timely, but it might be dangerous. It might be, first, Mr. Speaker, because it's preempting a more fundamental issue that we are called upon to deal with as the two houses of parliament, and that is the report of the National Dialogue Committee, which was adopted by this House and adopted by the Senate, and the Speaker committed it to the joint committees of the Justice and Legal Affairs, co-chaired by Honorable George Murugara here, and the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee of both houses had its first sitting already, and without preempting anything, because I'm not the chair, I am aware that we are resuming meeting tomorrow and had agreed to meet weekly. In the NADCO report, a very fundamental proposal has been made to change the period contemplated by the Constitution from between 8 and 12 to extend it to 15 years. Depending on how that discussion is had, the urgency of such a consideration ceases. It is then postponed, and it gives enough time for everyone to think through this matter. To adopt such a proposal right now undermines those proposals in the NADCO report and will actually just end up in some level of confusion. To that extent, Mr. Speaker, this proposal is premature. Secondly, a similar proposal is in the face of the Constitution. We found it necessary to protect the constituencies in issue from the first review, and that is in Schedule 6, Section 27 of the current Constitution. So that when the first review was undertaken, I believe it was in 2012, the idea of interfering with any of these constituencies was foregone, and therefore there was no interference. Such provisions usually are contained in transitional parts of the Constitution, not in the substantive part of a Constitution, because then you are entrenching something for posterity which you might need to deal with differently. To that extent, insofar as the idea is to amend Article 89 on its very face, then it becomes dangerous, instead of even considering an extension of Schedule 6, Section 27, in the event that that is what we wanted to deal with. But thirdly, and more importantly, Article 89 gives various parameters. And the jurisdiction for this is not for the House, it is for the Commission. The House, even this House, cannot arrogate itself a task expressly reserved for an independent commission. In the event that we get there, the idea of preserving all constituencies, not just the ones in danger of being affected, but even all existing constituencies, will then be an idea that is presented to the Commission. I've often told a lot of colleagues that, except that the timing is wrong, but the idea of, delimitation and the Commission considering the boundaries is not an idea we should fear, because the Commission can actually consider it, look at all the constituencies and say, we have reviewed and we've agreed that we are not adding any constituency, we are not affecting any boundary, and they'll have done the constitutional duty. So that is still a possibility that exists. It does not require preempting. And for that reason, Mr. Speaker, it is my considered view that this is a matter that should not be considered at this point. This is a matter which, if it's to be considered, should not be on the body of the Constitution. It should be considered in the schedules. This is a matter that is premature in light of the NADCO report. This is a matter that is preemptive in terms of the jurisdiction of the Commission. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, I do not support. Thank you.
Honorable Tiende Omolo, you can't raise an interjection after Honorable Tiende Omolo has concluded. Honorable Tiende Omolo, just for the benefit of the House, as a former member of the committee of experts which birthed this constitution, what under this constitution is meant by a commission?
Thank you.
Asked another way, something like the conduct of elections is the role of the commission. Is the secretary to the commission, who should also be the chief executive officer of a commission, a member of the commission?
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, to the extent that you prompted me, I had forgotten to talk about the other proposal, which is also on the floor, which proposes by my friend Honorable Bashir Sheikh, that where the commission is not constituted, the secretary to the commission shall perform the functions of the commission related to the conduct of a by-election under 1014. Mr. Speaker, that proposal would be flatly unconstitutional. And we do not even have to give that answer in this House. The organ that is mandated to interpret the Constitution has severally interpreted and has stated that a commission, to the extent of the role of a commission, is the commissioners. And only the commissioners can then undertake that role. If we were to be in a situation where we can forego or do without commissioners, we'll have fundamentally affected the structure of the Constitution in a way that runs contrary to the finding of the High Court. And the High Court has pronounced itself on this. What we must focus, and I keep coming back to the NADCO report, the urgency of this is obvious. But rather than debate all these proposals, let us fast-track the NADCO report and appoint the commissioners so that we have substantive commissioners who we can deal with. And it is for good reason that those commissioners are endorsed in this House, and if they misbehave, are removed by this House. That is why they are commissioners. So, Mr. Speaker, the answer has been provided by the court previously. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As to some extent, I agree with the Honorable Senior Counsel. NADCO report should not at any given time supersede the mandate of the members of this House. Members of this House are mandated by law to ensure, one, they registrate. And therefore, Honorable Chege, she's within a mandate of amending the Constitution. And I think, Mr. Speaker,
on a point of further debate, or what are you doing?
I just wanted to intervention, Mr. Speaker, to read.
Honorable Ruku, on what point are you standing? I'm struggling to understand you. You have debated. Honorable Amolo is done. Here you are contradicting Honorable Amolo's understanding of the Constitution he participated in making. Under procedure, I don't. What are you doing?
What I'm doing, Mr. Speaker, is to inform Honorable Moro that the amendment of Article 89...
Honorable Roku, Honorable Amolo has not requested or permitted you to inform him. Let me say you are out of order. Please sit so that we may proceed. Yes, the Honorable Dr. Nyikal.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to bring to your attention that that we don't have a quorum in the House. And what we are discussing is so important to this country that we can't have 4 or 5 people discussing. The information, like you are saying, coming from Honorable Tiende, is what would educate many of us in the House. We can't make it look like we're having a cup of tea in the cafeteria while we are discussing such an important House. So I bring it to your attention that we don't have a quorum in the House.
Let the clerks do what needs to follow upon Honorable Dr. Nyikal raising that point.
This is so important.
Which is the most unfortunate. I thought the Honorable Dr. Nyikal would require the members who are not within the House to come instead of raising that unavoidable point of order.
But that's how to bring them in.
The bells are ordered to ring as required by the standing order until we have quorum.
Statement number 7. Well, it has been confirmed that the House lacks the requisite quorum for the House business to continue, and this is after the Honorable Member for Seme, Honorable Dr. James Nyikal, stood on a point of order to inform the Speaker that the House does not have the requisite quorum to continue with the House business. Remember, currently is the quorum bell, which has been necessitated by the lack of the required number of members inside the chambers. This is during the proceedings of the House, and this is pursuant to the House Standing Order number 35, which talks about the commencement of House business as well as proceedings of the House, that the House needs to have a total of 50 members inside the chambers for the business to be taking place. But on that note, after that point of order by the Honorable Member that the House does not have the required number of members inside, then the quorum bell is on. Of course, this is to alert the members who could be within the precincts of Parliament but are not inside the chambers to make their way to the House, just to ensure that the House gets that required number for the business to continue. If you have been following this afternoon National Assembly proceedings, is that before the quorum bell, the members were considering the statements on the legislative proposals to amend the Constitution. This is under the Standing Order 114, Part 7A. This standing order talks about the Speaker to exempt certain legislative proposals, and there are a number of proposals here that the members were considering. There are proposals by the honorable members Honorable Major Retired Bashir Sheikh, and Honorable Alice Nganga. These are legislative proposals to amend the Constitution. And the one who was on the floor before the quorum bell was Honorable Atiende Omolo. And this one, they were looking at the legislative proposals to amend the Constitution under Standing Order 114.7a. The legislative proposal by the member for Mandera North, Honorable Major Retired Bashir Sheikh, was to amend Article 88 of the Constitution to provide that when the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission is not constituted, the Secretary of the Commission can perform the functions of the Commission that are limited to conducting by-elections under Article 101(4)(b) of the Constitution. And the Honorable Member for Thika Town, Honorable Alice Nganga, is to amend Article 89 of the Constitution to protect 27 constituencies that were protected for the first delimitation of electoral units in spite of not meeting the population quota requirement, and which constituencies risk being merged with others when the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission conducts the second review that is due. So if you are just joining us, currently underway is a quorum bell. Those are members of the National Assembly, of course, are waiting for other members to join them in the House. A business that was currently on is the statements on the legislative proposals to amend the Constitution under Standing Order 114.7a. And the member who was on the floor before, the Honorable Member for Seme, Dr. James Nikal, rose on a point of order to allow the Speaker that the House lacks the requisite quorum, was Honorable Member Otiende Amolo. And of course, what we'll be seeing is that we'll be expecting the members to walk in, but at the lapse of the 10-minute quorum bell, pursuant to the House Standing Order, a 5-minute quorum bell will be rung. And at the lapse of the 5-minute quorum bell, if no quorum is achieved as expected, then the House or the Speaker may adjourn the sitting until the next sitting. So what we'll be waiting for is that members will be walking in. As you can see, members are present, but not to the required number. So we hope or we believe that before the lapse of the 10-minute quorum bell, or even the second round of the quorum bell, that is the 5-minute, the members will be able to get into the chambers and allow the House attain its requisite quorum to continue with the House business. The Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2023 according to the legislative proposals to amend the Constitution by the honorable members. This is Honorable Member, Honorable Major Retired Bashir Sheikh, indicates that Article 88 of Constitution is amended by inserting a number of new clauses, that is a new clause immediately after clause 5. This will be clause 6, where the commission is not constituted. The secretary to the commission shall perform the functions of the commission related to the conduct of a by-election under Article 101(4). Remember, the amendment that had been brought by the Honorable Member for Mandera North was to provide that when the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission is not constituted, the Secretary of the Commission can perform the functions of the Commission that are limited to conducting by-elections under Article 114B of the Constitution. So in that amendment is an insertion of a new clause that comes immediately after clause 5, which indicates that where the commission is not constituted, the secretary to the commission shall perform the functions of the commission related to the conduct of a by-election under Article 101, subarticle 4. Well, if you are just joining us, the House business has been interrupted by a lack of quorum in the House or in the chamber, and thereby the Speaker has directed a quorum bell be rung for 10 minutes. This quorum bell is pursuant to the House Standing Order number 35. Quorum during the proceedings of the House, that if the House lacks a requisite quorum, then the bell will be rung. And as you have seen, the business that was on the floor of the House is on proposed amendments to the Constitution. So, of course, members are needed to ventilate on these particular proposals. Once the quorum has been achieved, you can see members taking their seats. Allow me to hand you over to this live broadcast. Hopefully the quorum has been achieved. We believe that the Sergeant at Arms and the clerk have informed the Speaker, if at all, the quorum has been achieved. All right, the Speaker, let's listen in to what he's saying.
Time being 6:34 p.m., this House stands adjourned until Wednesday, the 13th day of March 2024 at 9:30 a.m.